Hello, everybody. My name is Lat Mackey, and this is Games Done Classic, a look back at legendary GDQ moments with the legends that made them happen. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday evening or afternoon if you're watching us live here on twitch.tv/GDQ. If you missed out on any of our GDQ Hotfix shows, check out our archive of past runs and all of our shows over at youtube.com/gamesdonequick. And if you just happen to be watching this right now on YouTube, feel free to join us over at twitch.tv/GDQ Games Done Quick to check out all of our live shows starting most nights around 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be shifting our times and some shows coming up here in the future. So if you're at all interested in that and need to check out our schedules, please head over to our GDQ Hotfix shows page at gamesdonequick.com/hotfix for more info. GDQ's Sum of Best Segments is now launched on YouTube. We have a brand new YouTube channel, and it's like a highlight channel with regular videos from our main channel, but with like the small highlight reels for all of our main events here on Hotfix. So if you want just like a quicker, get to the good stuff, if you would, just want some of the highlights of the things that happens, head on over to our brand new YouTube channel. On Monday, that is tomorrow, if you're watching live right now, on Monday, tomorrow, we have the Community Spotlight at 7 p.m. Eastern for Twilight Princess 100% being run by, I'm going to probably screw up this screen name, Swift-like. I think I got it right, Swift-like. Should be a fun run. Please feel free to head on over there and check it out. It's really great to see everyone here. If you're watching right now on twitch.tv, you are watching live, and this is like a podcast. So feel free if you want to throw some things in the chat. We'll try to get into the conversation, but we have got a great show to get to today. We're going to watch some runs, going to talk some old CGDQ, GDQ, everything you can think of. And folks, awesome panel today. Check this out. So we're going to be looking back at Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island with one of the OGs, one of the people to run at this thing way back when at the very first classic Games Done Quick. And I am excited to welcome Trihex here. And we are also joined by Railkun, who is like knows everything, it seems like, about GDQ at some point. So Trihex, how you doing, man? Thanks so much for being here.
Dude, the pleasure is all mine. I'm doing great. I'm doing good. This is like just as much a trip down memory lane for y'all as it is for me, actually, to see. I haven't watched like this particular run here in like who knows how long. This is crazy.
This is so great. And Railkun, I know you have some exciting stories to share later on the next segment when we get to some of the later ones, but thank you so much for being here and actually taking a chance from, instead of behind the scenes, you actually get to see you on camera. This is great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, if you see me just looking off to the left for a few seconds, it means I'm doing something with the stream. Sorry, I can't really help that too much.
For those that don't know, Railkun, they is so good. Every time there is something that happens that I don't know something about, which is quite often, by the way, on this show, I'll get a little message in the chat from Ray that'll tell me what, some behind the scenes nugget. It's so fantastic. So thank you so much for doing this as well. I do. And he's running the show at the same time, folks. So pretty awesome. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be showing the run here on screen as you all are seeing it on there, but I really want to take us back here and start a little bit. So, Trex, would you mind just telling us a little bit about you? When did you get into this whole speedrunning thing? What is like your speedrunning journey that eventually is going to lead you here to that couch in 2010?
Oh my! So actually, I go way back. I'm one of like one of the earliest generations of speedrunners. Maybe not as far back as like SDA's origin with like the Quake speedrun community or the Metroid Prime community, but I've been actively speedrunning since 2004. Funnily enough, here one of Speed Demo's Archive's first attempts to have outreach was having their trailer included in a random insert DVD for the newsstand copies of Electronic Gaming Monthly in 2000, late 03 or like early 04. And I happened to buy EGM, the magazine, Electronic Gaming Monthly, at that time. And I was like, whoa, people do speed runs? Whoa, like people like, there's a productive function behind playing games repetitively over and over again. Yo, that's me. And so it started with that. Prior to this, I was into like competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was getting kind of annoyed with where the direction with Yu-Gi-Oh! Was going. No, that's an ultimate foreshadow for where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now, in my opinion, comparatively here. And I was like, well, if I'm going to dump all my time into a hobby, speedrunning looks much more productive to little 15-year-old me than Yu-Gi-Oh! At this point. So, yeah, I hopped on there, and I just happened to try to apply to the game I was currently playing, which was actually Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, the Game Boy Advance port. I hadn't yet acquired the Super Nintendo original. I was putting in some mad work on the GBA port in private, and then I finally like got enough courage to actually post my discoveries and what I was working on the Speed Demos Archive forum by like late '04, and then I eventually published my first run by October 2005. So I've been active on SDA for quite a while. I loved Yoshi's Island. I couldn't get enough of it. It was like the gateway drug to speedrun optimization and always finding new strats. And as you can tell here in the game, because you aim the eggs as Yoshi, there's kind of like you're able to essentially manipulate the entire screen. As opposed to like being like a traditional platform where you have to like physically move to everything you want to interact with. Here you can just fire the eggs at whatever you can see on screen. So the skill cap is really really high. So I was just like, I couldn't get enough of it, honestly. And it looks cool. You can do all the swag and everything. So I was like really, really into Yoshi.
Well, I
So
can't agree with you more on all that stuff. Look, every time I watch one of these runs, it's just like kind of mind blowing how much skill there's being displayed when you're watching a run of this game. I
yeah,
do. I am.
thank you.
I am kind of fascinated by the SDA time frame, and nowadays it seems we take a little bit for granted.
We
You
do.
finish a run, pop it on YouTube or stream it to Twitch. Any with the cell phone you can actually stream your run, or you can save. There's not the barrier to entry seems to have drastically reduced. How are you going about actually like capturing some of your runs and participating in publishing your runs and things like that? How did that process happen for you? back
Well,
in the
you
day?
see, back in the time in the '05 and until about late '07, you actually had to record your runs on VHS. You had to use a VCR, and you'd have to like manually record your speed runs on VHS, and then if your run was verified good enough, you would then submit it to the very very friendly staff at SDA there was one moderator named Nate who actually had like 5 machines, I kid you not, just for the ability to convert analog VHS into digital MP4 video. And yeah, that's what we did.
I don't want to think
Believe it or
about
not,
how
that's
many
how we used to
videos
do speedruns
Nate.
back in the gap.
I
But
don't want to
also,
think
Razors,
about how
it's
many
that's
also
what-
videos
really
Nate had to
important though
convert.
to contextualize here that like, of course, Nate had a huge backlog of like,
Right.
verified good runs that needed to be converted from VHS. So it wasn't like, you nailed a sick run and everyone would be like, oh, what was your strat? Upload the video. No, you didn't get the video till like months later. Like it was like 6 to 9 months later when your like banger run was finally available on SDA. So it was like all you had was like game facts era
Right.
all text description describing this random glitch you did in OOT or whatever. Like it was the wild wild west back in the gap. Let me tell you.
If you're lucky, there was a photo of a TV screen included.
No, yes,
I'm not even
Delkin's got it
kidding.
on point. Like you rarely got a visual aid to go along describing whatever glitch you found in whatever game you were doing. It was wild. And let's also not forget here, there was a huge language barrier. Like for the longest time, Japanese runners didn't know what the English runners were doing. So there was like, just Nico Nico video versus SDA. And it was like just a huge ambiguous wall of their rules were different because they allowed turbo controllers and and SDA thought that was more like hardware modification, etc. Here. I'm kind of derailing a little bit, but like,
No, it's
yeah,
great.
it was a wild time compared to again how granted things are now, how much they think are granted now with like just like the YouTube instant share. Because again, whenever I started this whole thing on my end, YouTube to contextualize here, YouTube wasn't even out until '05. Like we're talking like pre-YouTube whenever I was in this in the very beginning. So
And that
let
kind
that
of,
really
I guess,
sink in here.
yeah, no kidding. And it's interesting seeing the first few years of GDQs because we'll see some of the games improve, but not I don't know, there wasn't a boom or anything like this, but we see how much sharing information and sharing videos impacts speedrunning because I'm like you'd post things on forums, but how many people were running Yoshi's Island at this point? Like, in that '05, that middle, 2000s there. Was
That's
there
actually a
many?
really good question. I'm glad you asked. No one actually. The only the initial the first generation of individual level speed runs were produced by a guy named David Gibbons, aka Marshmallow was his tag. I had never seen nor spoke with him. David Gibbons did a lot of the very first SDA era runs of games. I believe he did the first one for Banjo-Kazooie, did the first one for Yoshi's Island. He just kind of came in, did all the games he liked a lot, but didn't stick around to like optimize them further and further. Just seemed like more just to initiate expanding the catalog of visible speedruns on the site, right?
Yeah.
But I hopped in and I improved all of his runs, found new shortcuts, found new strats, and eventually explored the lucrative 100% category later on. But yeah, I didn't have there was actually no one on Yoshi except me until 2010. I kid you not. That's
There's
hard
this
to believe
thing,
or not.
and you mentioned it actually. Part of the SDA submission process wasn't necessarily how fast you run. It was part of it was also how it looked and that it looked impressive. And I'm always, for your speed runs, did that impact some of the things you were trying to do, or was it always about the time? Like, I'm curious where you approach it as a speedrunner when nobody else is playing the game at this point.
Okay. That's a really really good point here. And actually, just hang on one second. I have
Yeah,
I got a thing I got to tend to here.
So one thing,
Um,
just like
yeah. Go ahead, Ray.
answering that question a little bit, is impressiveness was important, but it was for a different reason. Because
Hmm.
oftentimes on SDA, even when video sharing became more important, it would be verified by people who didn't necessarily know the game. They'd take volunteers on verify this run, and a lot of these games didn't have enough runners to have like a panel of people who really knew the game.
Hmm.
So there were two qualities. You need to have very good video quality. If your video quality wasn't good enough, they would just not accept the run because
Oh,
SDA
interesting.
was wanted like high quality videos. That was their thing. But you also wanted to make sure it was impressive so that somebody who doesn't know the game would see that it was impressive and not just say this looks, I don't understand it, you know?
Absolutely. And so I guess getting back then to the point, did that impact any like the way that you would approach the run triax or anything like that?
yeah. So okay, I will admit here. You remember I was like 15 years old, so my I didn't have this whole. Oh my god, that part. Okay, so you just okay. Wait. Let me pause that real quick because what just happened there was really really important. I had no checkpoint. What?
Yeah, you
Okay,
skipped the
20,
checkpoint.
20 at 21 me is cringing at 2010 me right now. I really went for the swaggiest swag with no checkpoint backup. Wow. Okay. So what happened right there? You saw, we were attacking the final World 2 boss, the flower plot, on the flower pot, and you can there's this really completely no time save swag thing you can do where you can go for a ground pound at a timed specific point, and you will be right above the death plane going for a ground pound, and the game will warp you right by the final like keyhole to exit the world. It looks cool, but it's very risky, and clearly as you can see, if you don't get a checkpoint beforehand, you lose like 5 minutes. I literally lost 5 minutes here. That is very very cringe, and but you can just tell that's like that's I'm gonna explain here in a second because these
Please,
both
yeah.
that incident and your question are both correlated here. 15-year-old me was seeking validation, and I'm around all the greats here. There's like all these like really good Mario Kart 64 speedrunners,
Yeah. Pleasure
GoldenEye
Dad's on your right
speedrunners.
there. Yeah.
Everyone's really really good, and I'm like, but no one gets Yoshi Island. Sure, the
Right.
game looks good, but no one was running it with me. So I was like, okay, well I gotta like I gotta put on for my squad. I gotta like show them what's up here. So I have to come in with all the swag, I suppose. Here was what I was thinking at the time. So yeah, I was very influenced by looking as inhuman as possible. It wasn't just getting a fast time. I had to like look like a task. I had to like come in here with like the egg aim canceling, the reverse egg aim pivots, the no speed loss, tongue full extensions. There's all this like Yoshi tech you can do to make the game look really really insane. And I was like, no, I gotta go. I gotta go beyond fast. I gotta be fast and cool. So that's where that came into play. Yeah, I was primarily influenced by like looking like a task, essentially.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're already getting into the run. So you mentioned, lead us up to how you got here in the first place, because I think you've mentioned something that might have been a possible precursor to GDQ before. I mean, it sounds, it's still amazes me this event even ended up happening in the first place. So how did you get here? How did this all happen?
Well, so I've been a community member for Speed Demo's archive for a hot while since '04. I was very active in the forums and whatnot, right? And whenever there was the idea of, hey, well, there's a lot of people here. Why don't we meet up and hang? So in 2009, the idea came that we'll have like a speedrunner meetup, and we all hung out in a there was a convention in Virginia January 2009 called MagFest, MAG Fest, Music and Games Festival. It's which is awesome by the way. MagFest is
Yeah.
amazing. And so we all went to that, and then we had a great time. But of course, the elephant in the room here is like, well, hey, well, we're all extraordinary people. We all speed run. You got Freddie knows all. Freddie's a Contra god, and Mexican runner this, and Rom Scout that, and Michael Yama's got all the bad games and all of his Genesis bangers and everything else here. Why are we sitting here with all of our clout and we're just like at a convention? Like, shouldn't we? The idea is, well, shouldn't we like do something next time? And that's whenever the following year, when there was us meeting up again, the idea of like putting on some event for charity was putting on for charity at Michael Yama's house was thought of. Now, of course, Michael Yama's house is not the biggest house in the world, and yeah, it was like something like 30 to 40 people all crammed into what was like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. It had a generous sized basement, as might be typical in like the DC area or whatever. I'm from Louisiana myself. I'm in the South here, so we don't have basements around here actually. But
Same here in California.
right. So but yeah, it was a very small house with a lot of people here, and there was like, a lot of Europeans coming from overseas travel and whatnot. So there was just a lot of things going on here. And yeah, so in 2010, for that second year of us meeting up, the idea to put on an event spawned, and yeah, I was there. I loved it. I loved speedrunning. I loved the community, and I thought the '09 meetup was fun, and the idea of doing something like a show or whatever was cool. Now, but let me pause here before I get to more about that, or if we ask more about that
Yeah,
here.
please,
Let me please contextualize here that understand that at this time, I know that now live streaming speedruns is like very common and very understood, but back in this is before live streaming was standard. Like, live streaming this event was the exception to what was otherwise the norm of only seeing the finished product of speedrunning. Because the idea that I thought of it was like, well, who would want to watch like a live attempt to speedrun? It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be good. It's like watching a director doing his first take on every scene of a movie and calling it a movie. Like, you want the final result. You don't want the finished product. You don't want like a compromise thing, I would think here, right? So the whole idea of live streaming or live attempts of a speed run were very foreign to me. It was more all about the finished product comparatively here. So yeah, this whole live streaming thing, even though this was a big success for its first one, right out the gate with the classic games done quick, it didn't really spawn on me or really a lot of people that this could be the future of like of speed running ultimately.
Yeah, especially since like Trihex mentions that this was a good sized basement, but I need to clarify that I am 6'2", and when I visited Mike's basement, my head was this far from the ceiling. It's spacious horizontally, not vertically. And some of the people in the SDA forum are extremely tall. So you don't see it too much on these VODs, but there's a lot of crouching down to walk around in that basement that goes on. And yeah, it's impressive that they managed to put this on in his basement, given how arcane streaming tech was back then. Like Flash Media Live Encoder. This is pre-XSplit.
Oh, baby. Adobe FME. Wow. That program. These stream zoomers with their XSplit and OBS and like cater to live broadcasting software. No, back in our time, we had to retrofit software that was not intended at all to live broadcast and make it happen. Oh yeah, it was wild.
Did you ever use VH Multicam, Trihex?
Wait, what was it called?
VH Multicam.
No, oh, that sounds terrible. No, no. Adobe FME was enough for me. That was some hot garbage for me. Like, actually, what's funny though? True story here. I asked when I was getting into live streaming. I remember DMing. It was either Romscout or Michael Yama, and I asked him, "Hey, what's bitrate and how high should it be when I do it?" And they both were like, "Oh, 150 is fine." Think here in 2011, like 150 bitrate was like completely fine for retro gaming. Like,
Flash Media Live Encoder was ridiculous. It was, I cannot describe it to you. It was just a screen full of settings and numbers. And more than half of them you didn't ever want to change unless you knew what it did, but even then you still didn't want to change it. But it was interesting in that more than OBS and XSplit, you could really optimize it if you knew what you're doing. So like, I had horrible internet back then, and I was streaming in 540 bitrate, and people said my streams looked better than the 720 esports streams. Like, that's just...
of all, so almost everybody who's been on the show from that time period, from for the very first GDQ, has mentioned that every story sounds like it's a miracle that the whole thing actually even
Oh
worked. You
yeah.
know, all things
Yeah.
considered. So
Oh, well, see, I hadn't yet told you the lore about how
please,
Classic Games Done Quick 2010 actually happened, the very first GDQ.
yes,
So
please.
yes, it started. So let's go all the way back here because it wasn't like day one. It was going to be at Michael Yama's basement. That was the backup plan, or that was more like the not even a backup plan. There was no backup plan. This became the plan. Initially, we were all at MagFest in 2010. You know, running it back. They had coordinated with MagFest to give us some dedicated space in the gaming room to do the event there, and we'd all learned very quickly the woes of the logistics of a convention because like they said that the hotel that MagFest was at had competent internet, but as you all are probably painfully aware now, that results may vary. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. So yeah, the internet was not up to scuff or something like that. Either they couldn't give us a line, or there was a huge I forget.
I think
There was like so much BS. I couldn't even remember here.
I'm pretty sure it was
Either
there was no internet in the room.
there was no
Like
internet
there
in
was
the
internet in
room,
the venue,
or
but not in the
or
room
there
we
was
had.
or it was like, yeah, okay, so there's internet in the room, but we can give you like a long Ethernet cord, maybe, or I don't, there was like I remember there was actually an idea of like potentially getting a T1 line from a nearby place and just having a long cord go from the T1 source to it was there was some YOLO stuff happening here. Like didn't even get that far past planning. But yeah, Uyama looked very, very stressed, and it was like, are we really gonna? This is not gonna work here, is it? We're not gonna be able to do it, are we? Not here anyway.
What was
Also,
that?
by the way, really important here was that we're talking about essentially the expo floor equivalent of a convention. So it was like the same room that the GDQ was going to be happening at was also where like the world's first playable build of Street Fighter 4 was being
Oh
held at.
wow,
So
did
the
not know
point is
that.
there was a lot of crowds, there was a lot of noise. So like microphoning was going to be the atmosphere, and the audio was going to be an absolute dumpster fire as far as I knew anyway. And it wasn't ideal at all for like providing like nuanced commentary for speed runs. You know what I mean? So it just the environment was looking really really as a kid say sus. So so yeah, that wasn't gonna work out. So ultimately it was concluded here. Well, okay, we got to do something here. Why don't we just do it in I guess Mike's basement? We'll figure out how it works.
Especially
And
since
that's how it actually happened. It was going to be at the MagFest convention hall, but it ended up migrating towards Mike's house anyway.
yeah, especially since if you look, nobody's got a microphone. There's just a microphone in the room that's capturing literally everyone in the room. And especially
Yep.
at these early GDQs, telling people to be quiet in the background because they're on stream.
This is true. Yeah, it was a Yeti Blue, open air, over air microphone, and you could hear everything, every cough, burp, sneeze, fart, butt itch. I mean, you name it, you heard it. So because you had that gain on max to be able to hear everyone clearly. So yeah, it was quiet time all the time. Also, another fun fact here. You don't have it here because my run's not on day one here. But initially, with day one of classic games done quick, the idea was actually there was no like template for how to make GDQ what's now the like spec protocol. So the whole idea of having the camera on the runner that wasn't the beginning. In the very beginning, it was more like, well, what do sport broadcasts do? They have the commentators on microphone or whatever, right? So
Right.
like who wants to see the runner here? So the commentators, or we know now knows donation reader slash commentator. They were on camera. So the donation reader was on camera. The runner was completely off camera. The runner was not even on the stream. That was a request from the Ustream chat way back. Boomer clap here, way back then, to like move the camera over to the runner. They want to see the runner who was doing it. So yeah, giving you an idea of how things really were in the very beginning.
And now that you mention Ustream, there were issues with Ustream that people who've only ever known Twitch would never understand. Ustream had a thing
Talk to 'em.
where when there were a large number of people in chat, it would split it into multiple chats. It was like chat sharding because it was like an IRC-based system. The problem was when your stream got big enough that there were a lot of those sharded chats, it would lag the stream.
Ooh.
So, like, having too many viewers caused quality loss on Ustream. And then, like, we're trying to moderate the chat, but it's impossible because there's 3 different chats and you can't control which one you join.
Are you
So
wait? What?
Yeah. You join the stream and it puts you in one.
Oh no.
It just
no.
assigns you to a chat.
Oh my god, it's like Mario Party like mod edition. Like what even? You got to re-roll to get in the right room, hopefully.
Yeah, that's why pretty quickly Shadow Wraith and other people just said, okay, we're gonna set up a QuakeNet chat, and that's gonna be our chat for the stream. Just completely ignore the Ustream user QuakeNet chat. And it was embedded on the website next to the player.
Oh my god.
So Mike Oyama, he's been on this show a couple of times talking about specifically classic games done quick, and mentioned that at some point, and I don't remember when, but the stream hits 1,000 viewers, and at the time that was just kind of like mind-boggling. But to your point, Ray, it really hampered some of the stream experience because it was affecting all of these other things happening, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Once again, it's just a miracle.
I don't know if GDQ had that issue with Ustream, but I was kind of in between esports and speedrunning at this time, and the Ustream problems were frequent.
Oh, jeez. Well, actually looking at this run and knowing that it's now 11 years ago, I think you mentioned, were you 15 years old at the time?
No. I was 15
Okay.
when I got into speedrunning in 04. By this
Got it,
point,
okay.
I am, I don't know, 22? You think here, 2010 would make me, yeah, 21 or 22. I believe 22 though.
It's an interesting point you brought up about, we hadn't done the speedrunning thing hadn't been done like this at a live event. And so coming up with commentary and all these things, weren't a thing yet. When you were practicing or when you were preparing for this run, was there any sort of prep going on? What was that like? And what did you want to do when you actually are out there on the stream doing this thing live?
That's actually a very good point here because I'm cringing at the things I messed up, but in reality, there was nowhere to practice. It's not like there was an abundance. There was no practice room. There was not like 500 CRTs to like hop on and just throw your console in there. There was zero availability. Like Uyama had maybe 2 TVs total, and it was always priority goes to a person coming up next. So there was like kind of a soft queue where there was like a little like I don't know like 10-inch little small CRT TV, and the runner going up next could use it to practice, and that's all you really got here. So it was more like if you weren't rehearsed, get good, get over it. It's kind of about all you can really do here. But again, like everything about CGDQ 2010 was like kind of like a just very very I don't know how to call it here, just
Happy
dumpster fire.
accident?
Like
Yeah,
again, the
okay.
fact that it came out as good as it did, given how
Right.
absolutely everything went wrong, is kind of a miracle, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, not saying it was ran bad. It's more like the luck we had was really like crazy. Like it almost didn't happen. Let me reemphasize here that it's not like it's not like it gracefully migrated from the Magfest to Uyama's basement. It almost didn't happen. Like Uyama was ready to, he was ready to give up. We didn't know what to do. It's like, okay, we can't get a T1 line, can't get internet here. What are we gonna do this at right now? I don't have a backup plan. Holy crap, I didn't see this one coming here. Yada yada yada. For a couple hours, it was like looked like it was not gonna happen actually.
There's also at least one runner that didn't go to Mike's house. I don't know how many, but I've been told stories about how some people had to pull out backups on games they didn't know too well because people didn't want to just go to Mike's house, It's one thing to meet up at a convention, but just like, hey, let's meet up in my basement. It's it's a little makes people nervous,
Yeah, not only that, a lot of people didn't have a car. That was the other thing too here. Like if you had a car, you had power. What I mean, because you can just like, I don't know, go eat or go somewhere. Like a lot of us were just kind of like stuck again in this 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and it was just like there's a lot of logistical annoyances with just having that many people at house that small and not exactly. It was not anything was really walking distance here. Like you had to walk
Right.
pretty far in what was pretty, in my opinion, trash tier weather. Like it was very cold outside, so it was like, yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was just cold and bitter and kind of sucked really, really hard, I would say.
The
So
experiences I've had in most recent in-person GDQs is that there is a lot of gaming. These practice rooms are now huge. We've been very fortunate to have these really great spaces to just hang out with people, members of your community, or just others, and just game all the time. It sounds like that wasn't really a possibility. Like you were, it almost sounds like you were not forced, but you're close together. And I don't even know if are people spending the night there. Like, how does that even work when you're doing a 24-hour marathon?
So yeah, spending the night was just like honestly, I'm trying to remember now, to be real. 2010's really fuzzy. It's really the
Sure.
4-H Center 2011 onward that I actually remember better.
Yeah.
But I would say 2010. I think literally my backpack with some clothes as a padding was my pillow, and we slept in the living room.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind though. Okay, what I will admit here, while the 24-hour was a new radical idea to have like 24-hour live streaming content happening for the GDQ duration, what's always been a staple since the very first GDQ was late night degeneracy.
Oh
Like
yeah.
people were just up until whenever.
Right.
Like I remember just like because the spectacle of watching a speedrunner live was new to me too. I don't think any of the runners who were there for the first one had ever like, you know, collaborated in an event like this before. So watching each other speed runs was as entertaining for us then as would be for an audience as well. So yeah, I wanted to stay up too. I wanted to very often understand here, by the way, that the basement was always full. Like there was never anywhere to sit because everyone always wanted to like sit and watch runs. That couch was rarely empty to like have no one there. There was always someone wanting to watch everything there. So there were many runs I wanted to watch, but I couldn't because there was nowhere to sit. Like literally nowhere to sit or stand.
Yeah.
Like
And
you couldn't even walk in that room. It was so small.
for additional
Um,
context, I think there's way less people here than chat probably thinks. No matter like how much we try to say this is a small event, this is less than 20 people.
was it
There's
really?
even
I think
in
so,
the room
yeah.
at any one point. What was there? I think there's 20 something runners at the first. Interestingly enough, even though there might have been like 40 people or
There's
so, I
a
think there was.
there's a group photo I took that I gave to Rom Scout at some point in the last like 5 years. That really contextualized it. You're right. It might have been like 25 people.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I'm saying 40. It was, you're right. It's probably more like 20. It was. You're right. Whatever the number is, though, was like
Right.
way too many for
It's
that
still a
basement
lot of
and a house.
people in
Yeah,
what
still,
was
yeah.
relatively small house, but like it's not as packed as chat probably thinks it was. Like when you compare it to these days and we're talking about a small event, it's a completely different scale than what people would think when they're looking at GDQ these days, you know.
Yeah, I think so. You've mentioned it before, and I kind of, if you don't mind, just talking a little bit about the run, and that is that in around when you started, 2005, 2004, those early times, you were the only runner. At this point, by the time you actually get a chance to perform this for the first ever Games Done Quick crowd, were there other runners? Had the community grown a little bit? Were there other people playing this game, or is this still something where you're trying to pursue it yourself?
In 2010 for this run,
Yeah,
no, this run is what led to a scene fostering finally.
awesome.
Yeah, there was one other guy. I don't. He's not that relevant though, because he really only wanted to run the Game Boy Advance levels, but he didn't really. I don't think he really came around to it. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned here, like now that yeah, the scene didn't really foster until after I did a run, and then from there, we had like it was like four of us that all came together, and we would hop on like, we would kind of do the old school thing where you had like so like okay, so I'm sorry,
Please.
more speedrun lore here, right?
Yeah,
So
go for it.
you had your squads, right? So the two most popular runs by far or games were Mario 64 and OOT. So they both had huge player base communities. And one very common thing that was really hot for viewership was doing like nightly races by like, mid 2011, early 2012. And so you had Giano, Singlimic, and I forget another runner. They would just all be in like in a Skype call together, just doing like 70 star or YOLO 120 star races, and it was like really fun to watch. And the point being, and there's equivalent OT as well with Narcissa and a few others here. But the point is that Yoshi's Island finally we had that by like by 2012, I want to say. I got into streaming in 2011 after going to Awesome Games Done with 2011, which I can talk about more later on here. But yeah, me streaming Yoshi's Island for a solid year finally built up enough people to actually not just speedrun the game, but also like stream it alongside me. So
I'm glad you brought that up because all that being considered, and I know you are already looking at the run and seeing all the things you could have done better or whatever, but it's still a super impressive run. One of the things I really enjoyed watching about it was like how much you can already see the foundations of the skill that you're bringing to the game, because it's obvious you've been playing it for a while, even though I didn't know how long you had. It's obvious you had put in the time with it, especially, and I don't know how to say this without being just putting it out there, like compared to some of the other CGDQ runs, because there were people who were playing their games that weren't their main games at CGDQ. Like, they were just people who picked it up for this event and things like that. So I think it's really fascinating that this already existed, considering nobody else did. That's pretty wild to me.
Thank you. Again, I have to give a lot of credit here to actually. So there was a task, a tool assisted speed run that had come out early '05 by a tasker known as NXCY, and he changed the game to me because he was using all these like
Mhm.
frame perfect inputs to like put more like swag and expression to Yoshi's movement because the game has a lot of options for movement while still being very optimized. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. It looks inhuman when he moves that way. So
Right.
that's why you see me trying to do all these crazy things. Just kind of like further add expression because I know not every speed game has that capability. Like it's very separated from like what you could do theoretically with inputs versus what's optimal for speed. And Yoshi Island's one of those rare games where they're two one and the same. You can be pretty optimal while looking really cool. And in some cases here, whenever you discover tech, the technically proficient stuff is the optimal thing without it being coincidentally not slowing you down. So it's like really really awesome, and that's what really inspired me to like have my my playing style. Because one thing I haven't brought up here yet here is that you're watching me play right now, and how I play Yoshi's Island is very different than how everyone else plays Yoshi's Island. Everyone else plays much more conservative, whereas I'm the one like blowing my wrist in half and doing all this great stuff here. I do know when you see me playing here, there's no controller cam here. I believe we have controller cam for the 2014 run, but you'll see there that like I am going all out, man. I am blowing. I am like a melee player. I'm hitting somewhere between well, speculative here about 150 APM actions per minute whenever I'm which is pretty high for a platformer, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, whenever you're fully
I,
swagging out, I believe that like the egg juggling nonsense, definitely sends the APM up there.
that was the thing I did want. I thought it was super fascinating, and I'm guessing others may have been doing it at the time. I don't know, but around 14 or 15 is when I found, I'd seen you do a GDQ run, and then I started watching your stream, and it was one of the first ones I saw with the controller cam. And I know some of the Super Metroid runners had done some of this stuff and some of that other stuff, but it was just fascinating to me all of the amount of I just flat out like skills you needed with your fingers and your hands to do this. And I think that's one of the things that really it translates well to this run, where you can actually see some of these inputs and realize how so much I can't even describe it, because first of all, I've never even attempted it myself, but it's like it comes off as really impressive from the viewer standpoint. I'm glad they included it, as we'll get to in one of the next GDQ runs. Was anybody else doing it? When you did, what made you decide to actually put that onto your stream? Was the controller cam?
Actually, I was actually, I forgot. This is some more. This is a Trihex stream lore right now. Okay, so the reason controller cam happened was at some point there was some rando in my chat in 2011 or 2012 who was like, man, you ain't doing that, bro, man, you playing a video, you're not really doing that. And I was like, all right, dude, what you want me to do? You want me to like, I tell you what. So I made a chip in. I don't know if you remember. That's like the thing before,
Oh
like
God,
like
yeah.
that's like the donation goal tracker that was used like before. I don't even know what people used back in like 2011 or whatever. And I was like, okay, here, bro, I'm gonna make a chip in for a second webcam, $60. If somebody helps snipe us here, I'll order it, and then you can see for yourself. So I got the second camera, and and then it was a dedicated camera just for that one hater to see here that it was really me playing the game. That is actually what happened there. I kid you not, because he was like watching me go crazy. In reality, here Yoshi's Island has 3 auto scroll levels that are about 5 minutes long a piece, and so I have nothing to do other than like the level scroll. I just sit there and I just shoot eggs and ricochet them and catch them and do like tongue jump cancels and blah blah blah. And it's like it's a visual fidelity euphoric spam fest. And you're like, you're not doing all that, dude. No way. So he just didn't believe it. So I had to as they say, your haters are your biggest fans. So I had to I had to show them what's up.
That really leads perfectly into starting to actually talk about some of the strats and stuff for our next segment. But before we do that, I do want to ask, did you have any sense that, because it sounds like you definitely appreciated how special this event was. I'm curious if you had any sense of that this could actually be a thing, that this is something that's going to grow, or that we're doing something, that might be setting the foundation for anything of where GDQ might, or speedrunning in general, might go from here.
You know, I never thought it would actually get to the point where it did or was. You know, I was actually just I'm humbled. I was here because I love speedrunning. I love my boys and the squad, and so I was just like, I just want to be here again next year. This is really really fun. It gave me like supreme validation to be part of like an elite. I sound so corny, but an elite group of gamers that we were all putting on for a good cause. You know, it felt really really good. You know, it felt you know how I felt good because whenever I would describe to my mom, because my mom didn't really get it. She was like, "What are you gonna go do?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna go do like a gaming thing for charity." And like she didn't really, I'm explaining it badly here, but like trying to explain to her like even what I did, like because she didn't get what streaming was, she didn't get what speedrunning was, she didn't get like what I was gonna do, which was like speedrunning and streaming and charity. So it's just like, I don't know, mom, I'm gonna go play games to like make money for charity or something like that. She's like, okay, well that sounds good. All right, have fun. So like that was there was some level of validation there with just describing like what I even did.
I feel like that was
My
kind
grandma
of
too was like, "Oh, you doing that game charity thing again?" That's actually my grandma sounds.
yeah.
She was like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, Trihex." Well, clearly she didn't call me Trihex, but like just
That would be funny if she did, though. That'd be pretty awesome.
I feel like that was a
Oh,
pretty
Ray, we're
common
gonna say, I'm
experience
sorry.
back there. Is just like having to try to explain to people what it was you were doing, and you could just give up and say, "We're raising money for charity by playing video games," and then that would always spawn more questions. Because of course the question, how are you going to raise money for charity by playing video games? With that emphasis was super
of course.
common for a lot of people because it's like, video games, you're rotting your brain, you're never going to do anything good with it. Like that, everybody got told that back then. So then you're saying, no, we're raising money for charity, and people just didn't understand.
All right. Oh
Well,
wait, here comes double. Oh, I didn't get double here. Oh, I didn't get the double. So if you align them correctly for this one boss fight for the 4-4 milled fight here, you can do one ground pound to attack two of the milled when they're smaller. It saves like a second, but it looks really cool when you do it. But I sadly didn't get it here. And you can tell
well, let's
yeah.
good.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's it. That's one
No,
before I
no,
forgot.
I think it's awesome, man. This is actually where we're going to be going next, folks. So I saw it pop up in the chat that your 2014 run is the reason they actually got into speedrunning. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and then when we return, we are going to look back at. Obviously, the runs are really long, so we're not going to look at the whole runs, but we're going to be looking back at AGDQ 2014 and SGDQ 2015. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with Trihex and Railkun looking back at Yoshi's Island and some GDQ. We'll be right back right after this.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Games Done Classic, where we're looking back at legendary GDQ moments with the legends that made them happen. And whoa, I am joined by two absolute legends on the panel today. Thank you so much, Trihex and Railkun, for being here. This is awesome, and let's get into it. So we talked a little bit about the early days in fact, the earliest day of GDQ with the classic games done quick in 2010. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here because there are, first of all, if you're at all interested in how some of this happened and things that went down, do yourself a favor and watch some of these VODs. 2012 is awesome. 2011, I mean, there is a Yoshi. And by the way, Trihex, when you're going through the VODs of all of these first 4, 5, 6 years of GDQs, you end up on so many of these videos. I see you on couches. You're just, it shows me that it seems like you enjoyed being an active member of the community.
I do and am. Absolutely, yeah. I was at every GDQ up until about might have been 2017 is whenever I had to like start focusing on like other things. Not even like out of disinterest of GDQ, more that like just I'd been to every GDQ, so it's like I don't want to get burnt out on them if that makes sense. Watching versus attending are two very different things, and getting the whole week off to go there is a big ask, and sometimes.
I actually do want to ask you that a little bit later on when we get towards the end, because there are speedrunning is a thing where we want to, it's probably good to take some breaks from time to time, to say the least. Let's first get into this run. And first of all, obviously the most obvious thing is the controller cam. And was that a donation incentive? How did that come about for this run?
It was a staple on my stream. My community loves controller cam, of course, right? And the wink wink notch here is that it makes me better at the game, of course, for some reason or whatever. And so the problem was like Yoshi's Island does not have much for like viewer interactivity. Like you can't name the character, you can't choose a path or B path. There was very little I had to offer for a donation incentive for the game, and of course I wanted I wanted to be lit. I wanted to get some donations for the hype and all that. So I was like, okay, well, what can we offer? And I was like, so I threw out controller cam, and I I would be lying if I remember the amount. It might have been like $10,000, but whatever it was, it got met like super quick. Like whatever the
that's
number
too
was,
high
it could
for
have easily been double that
2014,
number.
but
Because I was like, I really wanted to do. I'm like, I really want controller cam. So can we like maybe like 5,000? And then like Ron Scott's like, okay, cool, 10,000. And then like 10,000 got sniped in like 45 minutes, and I was like, okay, well that could have been 20,000 easily actually.
Yeah,
That was
this
kind
is
of funny.
back in the days where all the donation incentives were open the entire time. There wasn't the thing that we do in the modern GDQs where we hold some of them back, we open them as the event goes on, try and like get donations towards them. No, just these donation incentives are open from the start. And yeah, this controller cam one was met like instantly, just because Triax's community is like, we gotta get the controller cam.
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty big one. Because this was not a if I recall, this was not a thing that other runs had done at that time. So it's like, oh wait, well, even those who were not savvy in what I did and how I played were just like, oh, a controller cam for a game? Oh, must be really crazy. Then let's check it out. So
As you mentioned during the CGDQ run, is that there wasn't much of a community, if any, back in 2010 or even in 04 and 05, and so things are starting to grow. I assume that there's more. There's actually some runners now and things like that. What first of all, how had the game grown as a speed run up to now, up until 2014, and then also what were some of the like required, or what were some of the things that you needed to have in your run to be competitive at the highest levels at this game?
two fantastic questions actually, and there's some phenomenal speedrun lore in here I'm about to throw at you. So
Sweet.
the first thing is that understand that even the idea of a 100% speed run where you beat the whole game getting 100% in a single sitting, that was not even like possible until literally 2012. Like understand here that it was not possible. Instead, what we had was the 100% individual level timetable. You can go for a level and get 100%, and that was it. But doing it in one sitting wasn't feasible because, as you just saw there, I exited the level. At the goal ring at the end of the level had a RNG element to it where you can get a bonus game, and the bonus games, there's 6 of them total, and we at the time we thought it was random, so you would get one of 6 games. A short game could cost you 4 seconds. The worst game, match cards, would cost you 38 seconds. So, 54 levels times X amount of gold rings plus, you could just lose anywhere from like as little as 8 to like 35 minutes on a run on bonus games alone. So just no one took it seriously. I'm like, yeah, this category is dumb. Who's gonna do this, right? This is stupid. And then everything changed in I believe around I'm ballparking here. March 2012 is when like somebody discovered here that like the goal ring when it spawns it's spawning and it's rotating for its final square it's gonna land on about half a screen full off camera. So as long as your movement's consistent and you lose a consistent amount of speed, you will get on a blank space rather than the default bonus square. If you run at full speed, you're gonna get the bottom middle bonus square. But if you lose enough speed, you'll get the next one, which is actually a blank space with no where you lose the bonus ring and you don't get a bonus game, right? So once we understood that, that enabled the possibility of doing 100% speed runs. That's why you'll notice here, if you go back in my catalog, 2010 and 2011 are both any percent speed runs, and starting in I'm sorry, 2012. I don't even remember right now. I know for sure 2010, 2011 or any percent. The first hundo might have been 2013 or 2014.
Yeah,
I can't recall
both
exactly.
13 and 14 were hundo, but I don't remember 12.
Okay, so 2013 was the one where Carl Sagan did it, I believe. Then, and 2014 I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But who's awesome guys right there on the couch, by the way, with the Yoshi Island shirt. There's like 2 people wearing a Yoshi shirt. The one with the I was gonna say one with the glasses. Okay,
The one sitting in front of the cat.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. Oh my God.
I'm actually hiding there too, because I'm sitting behind Carl on the very edge of the screen, because Carl is amazing, but he gets very distracted easily. So my job during this run was to lean forward and remind him of things he wanted to talk about.
Gotcha.
That's literally
No,
what I was doing
it's a
this
really good
entire
task.
run.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because there's a lot to cover here. I mean, the game is so fast and high fidelity that like even trying to commentate what's happening, because you have to kind of like, the commentator 101 for like a GDQ, I feels like you have to brace the audience what's going to happen, so that way you're
Oh yeah.
commentating in the present and not commentating in the past. Because if you're bringing up how sick, awesome, and crazy what just happened was, chat has to like try to manually remember the visual references that you're currently explaining right now. So you kind of want to commentate in the future, that way they're braced for what's going to happen in the now. And that's easier said than done. That's a skill that requires refinement and development, I would say.
Yeah.
So commentating is definitely like I would actually argue here commentating is half the battle. Like getting your skill and being a competent runner is the first half. Your commentary, so the audience understands what's happening. That way there's like a emotional stakes in what you're doing is important. Because otherwise, like if I don't play Yoshi's Island, but I don't know what's going on because no one's explaining it to me here, then why would I care? So yeah, commentary is definitely very, very important.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting, YouTube comments for whatever they are. And when it's interesting those that point out that, oh man, now I understand the game after having watched some of these older runs, because that still is to this day. That's how you commentate. That's you have to make it as understandable as you possibly can for a viewer like me just watching it. I've never speedrun Yoshi's Island. I never even played the game when I was a kid. So it's like it's a very tough balancing act, but super important to making a success. I agree with you. I think it's almost half the battle, if you will.
Yeah, especially
Well,
in
at least
these.
it's half the battle from a good run to a excellent run. An excellent run would have clearly, competent gameplay, speed run ability, but also the elaborative commentary to give the audience perspective.
Yeah, and a lot of these older GDQs, the runs that stand out, the ones that people call the classics, the must watches, are the ones that had amazing commentary on top of really good gameplay, because it was less common. Speedrunning was in the process of blowing up at this point, but you turned on somebody's stream or you watched their PB videos, and often there's no commentary on it. Sometimes people would go back and record commentary afterwards, so you'd have their commentated PB, but there's very little runs at the time where somebody is running and you're getting commentary at the same time. So like runs like this, especially where Carl, like if you haven't seen this run and you just want to like get a good window into what Yoshi's Island was before, Carl did an amazing job on commentary this run. Absolutely fantastic.
Yep,
Couldn't
I
agree with
totally
you
agree.
more. Yeah, and unfortunately, I asked Carl to join us today, and he really wanted to. Unfortunately, real life stuff and other commitments sometimes get in the way of that. I
Oh
guess
man, that would have been super rad.
at some point we will we're as folks, if you're watching this right now live, there's going to be more Mario for this show, so trust me, there'll be many more appearances and chances for folks to jump on. One of the things that struck me about this run right away is just the estimate that you put, that this is it's more than 3 hours. Had you, up until the 100% category existed, had you done speedruns that they were this long? Because that's an incredible amount of time to be platforming and doing all these egg shooting and all this kind of stuff at this level. What's that like, that time commitment?
Man, I'm built different. No, sorry, I couldn't resist here. No. Actually, I was very monotonous with my speed running. Yoshi Island was my first speed game, and it occupied me deeply. I speed ran primarily Yoshi's Island from '04 to 2015. And it's not that I quit in 2015, it's more that I finally found a game that gave me as much spark as this, which was Mario Maker 1. So then I like, again, didn't quit, just kind of like, okay, I'm finally putting in time into something else that's giving me a lot of fun. So yeah, but yeah, I primarily speed ran Yoshi's Island with a couple of games in between, Crash Bandicoot 2 and 3, Sly Cooper 1, Jet Set Radio Future. I briefly explored some other ones as well here, but yeah, the point being is that Yoshi's Island 80% was a 2-hour speed run back in 2005, which I ran a ton of, and then 100%, once it spawned in 2012 as a concept that was viable. Yeah, it was a, initially those runs were longer because it was more unoptimized. So it was like, I remember at one point here, before bonus skips were discovered, world record for 100% was like 3 hours and 40 minutes. And then bonus skips were found, and then like within like a week, the record shot down to like 3 hours and 12 minutes. And then the record came further down to like 3 hours and 7, and then we were soon finally under sub 3. The 320 here was to it was a buffer in case things went bad in certain areas.
Yeah, and also in 2014, bonus skips were known, but there's some stages that were not consistent. There was no good setup for the bonus skip, so they were still considered RNG. A lot of that was labbed out several years later to find these really precise setups, make sure that you could consistently skip the bonus games. You watch a modern Yoshi's Island 100% run, you won't see a single bonus game because the setups are just so much better.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay, so the one level that comes to mind, this might be getting particular here, but like 5-2 with the ski lifts.
Yeah.
Is there a skip for that now? If you
I
happen to
don't
recall that one.
remember what it was, but when we did our CGDQ 20 replay before HGDQ 2020, they were talking about it's difficult, but there is a setup for it now.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, because here's the problem. I want to contextualize that here. The problem was we had skips for 5-2 yesteryear, forever ago, but all of them were slower than just like going for the YOLO. You know, like it was like it took longer than 20 seconds to get the bonus skip set up. So it was like, okay, well, it's not even worth doing. And that was always the problem. You had to find a viable one that also was faster than just like not getting the 1 in 6 bad luck on the bad skip or the bad bonus game.
Yeah, and there were just more of those back at this point, where it's like you just better to YOLO it because the setup isn't consistent. And that's also partially why the estimates were longer, just because, like, I remember in 2013, Golden and the crew showed up with the bonus game banner because it was a safe bet at least one of them was going to happen, just because not all of them were consistent, you know?
Oh my god, I forgot about that. And I remember it took a long time too. I didn't get a bonus for a long time in that run, and it finally happened. Everyone Jackson had the accordion and the banner. It was like so over dramatic. I love it.
So that's super interesting because at this point, if the bonus skips are there is at the time some element of randomness to it or something that you couldn't keep in your control. What was separating, like, Carl's running this above the other 100% runners? What was the things why were people getting world records? Was it just execution? What were the things was there new strats discovered? What are some of those things that are setting it apart for the next person who got the world record in this category?
Honestly, it's I don't remember the specifics for 2014 because the context does change year by year, but it was really consistency. I would say that the top runners at this time were actually going for more consistent safe strats than me, who was always going for like the stupid YOLO stuff. Like I go for like this like really risky 2-second time save that if I failed it I would lose like 20 seconds, and I'm like the risk to reward here was not good for a game of that length, and I was always going for like the really really hard skips. I don't even actually remember if I don't think I had world record at any point for any of these here. I just was the most, I guess, the most popular or prolific runner who submitted, I guess. I don't remember. I don't want to lie to you here. I don't remember like where my ranking was at this time.
I don't remember. But this is the middle of when swag was king as well. Whenever there was a small event, like online events were starting to pop up here, and it was always during a marathon you went for every swag. That was just what you did. And if you look at the difference between these two runs, just like anytime that Triax is just traversing horizontally, you'll often just see him bouncing eggs around with his tongue, egg juggling, which is super hard. And he's just doing it like a screen and a half of moving straight sideways, and he's egg juggling,
Yeah, right there. Like just, for no reason I'm aiming backwards while walking forward because it looks cool.
It serves no functional purpose, but it
does not know, other than it looks cool. You got it.
Like back here, the metric was at a marathon, okay, run was good, but how much swag did you get in? And there was even one run I remember at an online event where they had a try-hard counter on screen for every major swag that was accomplished.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
That's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things by the time 2014 rolls around, you've already done a few runs on this stage, and and you've been to all of these GDQs at this point. Is there any nerves getting up there on the stage and performing at this level, or had you prepped enough? What's kind of like, I guess, leading up to this? Are you having any? It doesn't look like it, but I'm just curious if any of that exists.
You're asking. That's actually a very good question. A lot of runners, I feel, were kind of. I feel this was a. How do I put this here? Okay, so like, at some point by 2015, I was getting approached asking for tips on how to deal with like stage nerves because I looked really natural when I was up there. And now the thing is, to be fair, I was kind of like given the privilege of like being prepared in the context of one, I'd been speedrunning the whole way through. Two, I was a known speedrunner before I started live streaming, so I didn't have like that whole like zero viewer like growth fatigue, I guess. You know,
Right.
I was already a somebody from the years prior of speedrunning. And also, I was a waiter. I was slash was then a waiter. So I had to deal with like the whole public speaking, social, everything
Yeah.
about that. I had to develop that real quick, early on in my being a waiter and whatnot. So none of that really bothered me. As long as I was able to be prepared, get time to prepare for my appearance, I was good to go. So for me, this all came, not to boast here, came rather natural. I wanted to be a flashy showsman, and Yoshi Island allowed me to be the ultimate flashy showsman. So I was ready. I was ready for it.
Also,
But some people, it did not come quite as easy. I can definitely tell, and it can be pretty nerve wracking for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And the secret is that doesn't get mentioned a lot is the nerves never go away. You just get better at dealing with them. Like
Good point.
when I got started with GDQ, I'd been a commentator for esports for several years, and you sit up and you're putting yourself on camera to do the thing, and you still get nervous. It's just you're better at
Dude,
dealing
I do
with
this
the
with
nerves.
one egg. Oh my god. Okay, this is really stupid on mine here. I'm actually going for the I'm going. Oh, no structured. Oh my. Wow. Okay.
I think you get this.
Okay. But I get it though. Okay, that was so risky. That was like really dumb. I didn't get a second egg, and I didn't even do like the buffer against the ceiling to get the shot aligned extra consistently. Wow, that was really scary. Oh my god. My risk assessment ratio now is like so different compared to back then. Like I don't even know what was going on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Um,
What he was getting at was a point that I think is kind of interesting too. Is that part of a big part of what we're doing here is trying to raise money for charity and stuff. And so going for these strats, Trihex. I mean, like this is what gets the viewer excited. The whole crowd obviously knew what you were trying to do there, thanks to some of the commentary happening in the background as well. That letting us know that what you just saw was extremely risky.
Yeah, that's what I
Indeed.
was talking about earlier. This is just how Yoshi's Island was at the time. There were more runners who were active, and everybody was taking the risks because you wanted your run to look cool. That was sort of where the community was. You're going for times, but if you got the time and it wasn't cool, then everybody was just sort of like, "What's the point?" You know?
yeah, if you got a better time, but you weren't doing any of the YOLO strats, and your faster time was because of just being safe and consistent, like quite frankly, it wasn't getting as many like views or metrics. Not saying it was a worse run at all here. Just like,
Yeah.
this
Oh
is
no.
just like what, viewers love spectacle, and having great commentary alongside definitely helps that.
It also helps
So
that like basically all the top runners were leaning into it at the time as well. They were all going for the swag.
indeed.
So it's coming up here in just a second, and it's tough to ignore this part. I don't know how much of the audio we can hear, but the fire alarm is about to go off. And
hmm
I'm curious what exactly, from your perspective, what was that experience like? What actually went down? What go through your head at that time?
So yeah, spoilers here, but it's gonna be in, I believe, the next level, or it's gonna be in 4-2 where the fire alarm goes off, and so the fire alarm goes off, and we have to all evacuate the building and be outside while our marshal comes and blah 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 blah. Remember, this is January in the DC area, so Washington DC. So it's like it's very cold outside, very very cold, and I did not have a jacket with me because
You're
why would I
wearing
need one?
shorts.
I'm in GDQ. I'm comfy right now. And notice here, okay, notice that there is a towel on my left leg. Because my APM is so high and I'm exerting so much pure execution via my fingers, hands, forearms, wrists. They get sweaty. Not because I'm nervous, but because I'm just like, I'm just, it's a workout, like legitimately. So I need the towel to dampen or dry my hands from the sweat. That way I don't like do any misinputs on the controller, right? And so this is all very relevant when it comes to when the fire alarm happened, because we're outside for like 20 minutes and it's cold and I don't have a jacket and it sucked. And when I got back in,
Yep,
very
there it
very
goes.
valid very valid excuse here was that, hey, my hands are ice cold right now. I need like 10 minutes to get back in the zone right now. My momentum is thrown off right now. My feng shui is like not synchronized anymore or whatever. So yeah, when we were outside, what happened? It was kind of crazy. There
So
was like
I remember this.
somebody started singing
Yeah.
video game songs. I want to say,
No,
right?
the accordion guy was playing songs outside, and we noticed that you were freezing because you're in a t-shirt and workout shorts.
As you
And
can see right
like this is January in Virginia, like he's talking about, and Hannah was there and had a giant van, so we grabbed Trihex and pulled him into the back of the van so he could be like somewhere that's heated for a few minutes after we noticed that he was freezing. Sadly, that was right near the end of the fire alarm, so I don't think it helped too much when we finally noticed how cold you were.
Yeah, because it's not like we had time. Like we didn't have time to like go back to our hotel room or anything. We had to like get out right away. And to this day, what happened? Why did you? Was it an accidental pull? Was it like a prank or like?
This was at that hotel. This is a small hotel. Just had a couple conference rooms. This is not one that's like designed for bigger meetings. And the fire alarm went off in one of the rooms, and the hotel was small enough it just went off in the entire building.
Jeez.
And that was legitimately part of 2015. That hotel is that the area that the stream room is in a separate building that had a different fire alarm. That was a consideration. Also, fun fact is that we did not have a pause hotkey on our live split, so we had to quickly open up the settings, bind pause to pause the timer here, because I remember mentioning it to somebody on the tech team, like we should bind pause in case something happens. We're never gonna need to pause a run. These are speed runs. So then we had to quickly actually like get a pause hotkey set up to pause the run here so that we could leave for the fire alarm.
Well,
As you can see here, I'm going. I'm doing like I'm doing the first level 1-1, like extra, like unnecessary, like everything here, like egg cancels, egg shooting, tongue juggling. I'm just trying to get my hands as hot as I can, and then like I'm going like way above 150 here. I would say like excessive pace just to get warm again, and then slow the tempo down to a realistic playing pace so I can then proceed.
So
that's something we. Go ahead.
I was gonna say for context, Trihex mentions he's from the South. I was living in Ohio at the time, and I was cold outside. So like, there's oftentimes at a GDQ where I hear people complaining it's cold, and I'm shrugging because I'm from Ohio and it's normal to me. It was cold, and of course it's worse for Trihex because he's from the South. So like, everyone really understood this because
you're not wrong.
Brutal.
I remember 2016. It was what was the first GDQ that had food trucks? Was it 2016?
It was either 2015 or 2016. I think it's 16 because the complaints after 2015.
Okay.
Like that
well, whichever one that was the one where it was like 5 degrees outside, 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was like, "Ooh, I've never felt snow before. I'm gonna go." And it was like this was like East Coast like dirt snow. It wasn't like fun Colorado snow. It was just like wet and dirty and sucked. And so like I go outside, I'm like, okay, this sucks. I'm out. Like I felt my cheeks hurt, my ears were like ripping off. I was like, okay, no, I'm coal is overrated, But ignorant me, I didn't know any better. I know that this was also like East Coast where there's humidity, and this is different than like it's no humidity Colorado snow, which is very, very different. But yeah. In DC area, it gets cold in the winter. Very, very cold. I'm good.
As a Southern Californian, I have no idea what that white stuff is you all are talking about. So we'll just leave it at that. You did mention something though that we haven't talked about almost ever on this show, and that is the physical exercise that it actually takes to do what you're doing. What do you have when you've been speedrunning? Is there any sort of regimen? Is there stretches? I mean, obviously you're going to be playing for hours on end. That obviously helps out. But is there any sort of like regiment or exercising that you do to assist you with that as well?
Very good question, actually. Yes. So yeah, hand help. I was always a big advocate for this, and actually, what's weird is I got a lot of negativity. This actually, people thought that I was like overhyping the intensity, the duration, and so what I would do was I would play DDR, the rhythm game, on a controller. And I would just map like, up, down, left, right to both the sides of the controller, the directional inputs as well as like, A, B, X, Y. and I would play like 40 minutes of DDR where I can control the demands. So I would play like, easy songs, and I would play gradually harder songs, and like kind of like transition and smooth my way into playing at the full throttle of like what Yoshi demanded and whatnot. Like what I did earlier here where I was going like 8 p.m. crazy. That to me is like what hurts. That's like, like it's cool in the moment, but the minute my adrenaline like wears off, if I like, if I were dying in a speedrun attempt, if I like failed the run, or if I like stop playing, when the adrenaline wears off, my hands are actually in severe pain if I don't appropriately take the right measures here. So whenever I'm done playing, yeah, you warm up, you're at full throttle, cruising altitude, if you will, and then you slow down. I wrap my hands in a hot towel for 10 minutes. I do the anti-carpal tunnel stretches on both sides, fingers as well here. And yeah, then at night I would always wear there is a sleeping wrist brace you can get, and I would wear them both for my arms, and my healing would double in speed before I bought those. So I
Yeah.
would do all those precautions to be able to play Yoshi's Island like how I do.
And I came from esports, specifically StarCraft, where people are doing literally 400 APM on their keyboards. And the prevalence of hand stretches at this point was very low. It wasn't a thing that most people were doing. So, like, yeah, people didn't understand that it was very important at that time. And, yeah, stretch your
They did
hands,
not.
stretch your wrists, take care of yourself. If you're being playing, even just long gaming sessions, you don't even have to be doing like super high APM stuff like this. Just take care of your wrists. You will thank
Big facts.
yourself later.
Allow me to elaborate here because so another speed game I got into later on here was Mario Odyssey. And Odyssey is in the same way like physically demanding to speed run because of like there's a tech called spin pounding where it requires you to like take your thumb and very rapidly rotate it in 360-degree orientations repetitively. To have a buffered spin to be able to like do like a buffered spinning ground pound, which is like a very fast way to move in the game. So a combination of doing that with your thumb is very, very brutal, as well as like having to constantly do the motion to like, you have to do like this with your controller in your hand in order to like roll repetitively. Both and honestly, if you do it the wrong way, you can do it where you're only using your forearms, and it's very, very strenuous over the course of speedrunning that game intensely for 6 to 8 hours at a time. So yeah, like the point is that yeah, speedrunning can be very physically demanding on you if you don't appropriately pace for it.
It's great you're bringing up all these different things because nowadays I almost feel like we're in a fortunate situation where you see people using the compression gloves, or if they're using CRTs, you see people with the glasses and things like that. It's like there are quite a few different, not just to mention stretching, the very basics there. And I primarily run games on this old console called TurboGrafx 16. But recently I've tried, I'm learning the speed run to Glitch Cat's Return to Subcon, and having just that constant stress on your fingers and your hands. It's my first time I've ever experienced any sort of hand pain. It's like real. So, but thankfully we have a whole community out there who's already gone through this, and a lot of great techniques being shared and things like that. I'm glad that you've mentioned it.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, please go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So just now we missed here. That was I was going for the swaggiest of swag of the egg juggles. Right here is like one of the few sections of the game where I can just like I can take an egg and just juggle it for as long as I want until I have to do the next objective. So I don't know if you saw it there. I was juggling that egg for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I did the whole thing. I did everything. You can swag harder, but you would lose some time doing it. But you can do a 4 perfect flutters while juggling the egg, doing a combination of like back tongue, up tongue, back tongue, up tongue at different points of the flutter itself here to juggle the egg, catch it, and then shoot it at the final 4 red coins. It is like super swag god, but it does lose like about 2 seconds.
Also, at the end,
But
of
it does look
the,
really, really cool. But I didn't want to make Carl mad here by just indulging in my swag, so I didn't go for it.
Also, at the end of the level there, you saw Trehex turn around, which is just like you mentioned before. The goal ring spawns about half a screen out. So if you go back far enough and there's a flat ground on that one, if you didn't have a good setup, you can just reset it and get the bonus skip.
Oh, good elaboration. I forgot to re-elaborate on that bonus skip there. Also, this level here is actually my favorite level in the game. 4-4. Like, okay, this upcoming room right here, we're gonna go to the top right. This room is one of the most aggressive rooms in the entire game. I'm gonna go through something like about 20 eggs in under 40 seconds, just like shooting through so many things here. So we're gonna break. I'm just gonna let it play out here. It's just kind of
Oh
crazy to
yeah,
see.
please.
Wish you all the best. Thank you, Henrik.
That's when I think back to Yoshi's Island, as much as I didn't play it as a kid, when I found it as an older person, I was kind of blown away that the console was capable of doing some of these things. I mean, there's so much going on screen right now.
The super effects chip, man.
It was real.
Go for it, right here. Boom. Oh my god, like that, breaking that spike wall like that so aggressively, like it's such an insane risk. And I believe I skipped checkpoint here because I just don't care. Like buffered ground pound to the door. Yeah, that room was hot. That was pretty hot. It could have went a little bit faster there with the egg respawning in the beginning there, but that was really good. Yeah, one of the cool things people don't really realize here is that actually, whereas a lot of games have just allow lag to occur when the amount of sprites on screen simultaneously is being way higher than intended here. Yoshi's Island actually was programmed brilliantly in that it has quite a few anti-lag measures. The game, rather than having lag occur, will just despawn. It's predefined to despawn certain objects to prevent lag from happening. Full blown, which is pretty crazy.
That's why it's able to keep up the speed. So I had no idea. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's
That's incredible
like,
by the developers.
It's a joke in the community, the super effects chip, but there is an extra thing in the cartridge that's helping it run better. And even with that, they are pushing it to the absolute limits in this game. It's one of the things they started doing in some of the later Super Nintendo games, just like putting extra stuff in the cartridge to help it run better. And Yoshi's Island barely runs even with the super effects chip. Like, it's amazing.
This is true. Yeah, if I recall correctly, like Mega Man X3 and X4 have additional hardware in their cartridges to be able to run the game and do certain effects, like Yoshi Island does as well. So you're not wrong. This is for context here, y'all. Remember that this is Yoshi Island came out. I mean, this is practically Swan Song Super Nintendo hardware or software, right, because less than a year later, the N64 and Mario 64 came out. This was, I believe, August 95, and the N64 came out in July 96, if I recall correctly.
But yeah, that's part of why they're able to make the game like this, is because they have so much experience on pushing the boundaries of the hardware at this point in the Super Nintendo. Like, if this came out 5 years earlier, they would have had to cut a lot of stuff because they wouldn't have been able to make it work.
So before we move on to 2015, I did have one more question for you, and I'm curious what motivates you as far as the competitive side of this. Is when you're speedrunning, are you checking out the other people's runs, the leaderboards? Is it something where you want to push for world record, or is it something where it's like you want to improve your own times? I'm always curious, like the approach that you take to speedrunning as far as your individual approach to it.
Oh, great question, actually. So, because I'd argue I'm a product of my environment. And so because there was no scene and there was no community for a very long time, I ran solo. I improved myself. I pushed myself from 04 to 2010. I didn't need the catalyst of competition to feel motivation to keep pushing further, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So totally. I was never looking at, okay, well, my goal here is to get sub 3 hour or sub 255. You know, I was always like, no. My goal is to land all 18 of these really hard shortcuts in one run. Like I'm greedy. I want it all. I want the God run. Right. So it was always, my goal was to be the task. I wanted everything. Like forget justifying risk reward ratio. No, I wanted every swag strat, every shortcut. I wanted the God run. I wanted to be the task.
Oh, the double.
That was how I viewed everything.
Yeah. No, the double maybe. Oh, okay. You got one double in there.
Oh, I got hit. Oh, this is sloppy. Oh, what happened there? I got cheated on that one. That was really weird.
Yeah.
Ugh. That was unfortunate.
Right now he's bouncing eggs to get red eggs so he can get stars back.
I'm glad you share that approach, because especially there are many of us who speedrun games that very few others, if any, speedrun, and so you don't have that kind of competition when you're doing this thing. So it's interesting that that's still the approach that you kept even once there started to be a community being built around this.
Yeah.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move ahead here. I know there's so much. I mean, this run goes for 3 hours, so it's like there's so much awesomeness.
No. Let's do it.
We're gonna skip
actually.
ahead
You know
here.
what I love here? I love finding out what you find interesting, actually, because actually a random thing here about this.
Yeah.
One thing I love about GDQs is that it gave someone like me phenomenal feedback over what Well, here's what I find impressive, right? And it would get no applause from the GDQ audience, like the live audience there, because they went over their head or whatever, right? Not because
Right.
it was boring or anything. And then like I do like this random thing that didn't even wasn't even risky or whatever, and they're like, amazing. And I'm like, wait, that was nothing. So I can just tell those things like just go over their head and things that just look visually risky that actually aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just tell like so I'm curious here what you find show worthy and whatnot. So no, please go ahead.
So let's do it. Let's move over to SGDQ 2015. And I'm going to skip ahead just so we got to see some levels that we haven't seen before. So give me just a second here as we fast forward us into about an hour and 20 into the run or so. And it's probably pretty close, an hour and 3.
Oh my! I'm already laughing. I forgot. 2015, I was quite the showsman here. Okay. Anyway,
Oh my god, that
Okay,
shirt! I
so-
forgot about that shirt.
I love it, man. It's awesome. I guess first of all, thank you for there. If you folks, if you're at all curious about this run, we're not going to watch it in its entirety, but Triax did a great commentary video on this run where you kind of take yourself to town for some of the gameplay stuff, which I thought was just really fascinating. Because as once again, just a casual viewer, like you can't tell some of these things that you quote unquote are missing or not doing to the highest level. So I guess first of all, when you think back to this run, what are some of your initial thoughts and thinking back to SGDQ 2015?
Oh, this is my best run. I know people actually probably think the fire alarm is more prolific, but this was the better speed run. I was better prepared here. My commentary was much more prepared. In the past, I relied on Carl to help me. I wasn't as confident in my commentary ability, but here I practiced it really hard and I had everything already. I had bullet points already prearranged. So it's in case I had extra brain power to commentate while doing the levels, I'd be able to do them. So yeah, I'd say this is Magnus Opus. Am I saying the word right? Trihex
Opus?
content here. Like I made sure that my if you want Trihex commentary with peak gameplay, this was it on both ends here. And ethical involved here because it wasn't just about what I did or what I said, but also what I wore. As you can see there, I wore a incredibly dank all polyester Dragon Ball Z shirt that featured Goku, Trunks, and Vegeta, and I'm wearing an even more dank tank top beneath it.
That shirt is extremely shiny. It doesn't come across well on the camera how shiny that shirt is. And that's very important that the audience knows that.
Yeah, this is anime drip in its infancy. Like now, this is what any weeb would wear at any given convention here. But this is this for me was I had to go on eBay for this thing here for sure.
Oh, yeah, that was hot.
I deliberately looked for this was a late '90s style all polyester button down. This was the hot stuff back in '99. So
you showed up in that and you were turning eyes in that because like what the heck? What's that shirt? That's amazing.
Okay, real truth though. Did you ever wear it outside of this event?
Actually, yeah. You know what's funny? I did just for the meme, right? Like I wore it to Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods when it came out in theaters in 2013 and or 2014, whatever year it came out. And actually, when I wore it in public for the meme, people were like, "Bro, that shirt drip, bro. Where you got that from?" And I was like, "Oh crap!" People think it's actually legit. Looks good because it's so loud and over the top. But
in the chat, it's burning my monitor. So apologies for the hot flames you're getting through the stream right now. It's awesome. Well, I think but that once again, to your point, and this is, to be honest with you, the thing that appeals to me so much about GDQ is the performance of it. Like is everything that goes on. Like commentary goes a long way. Just the look of it, and it's one of the great, for so many, there's still speedrunners today who are the best in their game and at their speedruns, but they only stream gameplay or they don't see, there's no webcam associated with it. So you get this whole presentation that just makes, in my opinion, a GDQ that could go for this. I'm glad you made these choices because it really stands out, and I think it's awesome that way.
Thank you.
So going back a little bit, this is one of those tricks Trihex was talking about that, at this point is not super hard, but the audience finds really impressive that this auto-scroller skip. It used to be kind of dangerous, take a while for people to set up. They would have to retry it a few times. But at this point in 2015, it's not as big of a deal, and it gets a good reaction whenever you do it. But this is a good example of just the stuff that used to be really hard back in 2010 is just a different level. People find it easy these days, and That's why you'll see some different strats from Trihex here. He's going for stuff that was risky back then and would throw people off, but it's just normal now.
Yeah, and to explain further, like what's happening
Please.
there, it's an auto scroller level, right? It's a 3-minute long level where you have to ride a vehicle. The vehicle being Poochie the dog, which is just is annoying to deal with and whatnot. And but the level only starts scrolling when you walk forward a little bit. So theoretically, if you can just use the bats to flutter infinitely high enough, because the bats are infinitely spawning, you could actually skip the entire trigger that starts the auto scroll function. The level becomes a non-auto scroll, which you can just blast through in like under a minute, which is what you do there. So it's a technical thing, but it's really, really cool to see happen.
Yeah, it's got a great. I mean, it just looks so impressive on screen too. That's the other thing about it. It's like, oh man, that's what's going on here. Quite often, and especially nowadays, we don't always get a chance to see the same similar category run close, within a year or so of each other, because unless there's some sort of breakthrough or some new strats and things like that. What had happened between 14 and 15 that first of all, your estimate is drastically different? What kind of things were happening in this category and with your running?
Oh yeah, this is it. This is the 5-4 skip. The hardest trick in the game, easily in my opinion. I don't know why it's called that. It's just not a very creative name here, but it's called the 5-4 skip. It's a skip you do in the 5-4 level. The fortress, not castle, in World 5, the halfway point of World 5, which in my opinion is the hardest world in the game. And there is you might see if you fast forward to it at some point here. But what happens there is a obnoxious 3-minute long auto scroll section. I'm sorry, no, it's not technically auto scroller, but there's no way to advance other than riding the platform. You have to ride this slow moving platform, which is essentially a soft auto scroller. But theoretically, if you could find a way to travel faster, not waiting for the platform, then you can get the section beat quicker. There's a way to save about 70 seconds by using a insane combination of over 50 flutters with losing less than half of your height the entire time, using a combination of a shy guy, 4 bats, 6 eggs, 4 red coin duplications. It's the accumulation of every technical thing in the game in one really, really hard to do trick. And if you mess up at any point, you die. And when you die, you lose like a minute and a half because you got to do it all over again.
And yes,
there's nothing worse than dying on an auto scroller. Yeah, it's the absolute worst.
This is in the VOD.
Yeah, I'm not sure
what's
I think it's pretty sure it's the VOD. I was just checking. I'm like, did I get the official video right? Yes, this is actually the
that
VOD.
happened. Oh my god!
Wait, this is
the VOD. So this is one of the first years where we changed to a different way of capturing the screen.
Oh my god!
There's a full screen projector going on. That's what's going to the stream. The projector's out there, and also what's being streamed. And it's basically another monitor that you can't see. So this was our first year doing it like that, and the stream tech was moving a folder around, didn't realize it was going on stream. Just growing pains with new tech setups.
Of course. Yeah, it's also the first year of the couch, right? Where there's like a couch layer between the audience and the live audience and the runners.
Yeah,
the runners
because
crew.
at AGDQ previously you were like in the corner and you couldn't see the crowd behind. So I think this was the first time we did this setup. But going back a little bit, like,
please,
one of the good examples with what Trihex is talking about with like 5-4 skip, the just skipping the log in the end game, the lava flutter to skip the one log, just called log skip, used to be considered super hard. It was risky to go for. Some people wouldn't even try it. And to be able to do lava skip is doing that trick amplified by like 10 or 20. It is so difficult. The number of perfect flutters you need to chain together. It was considered TAS only for a really long time to even like consider 5-4 skip.
Now I should also explain here, for those who are uninitiated, a perfect flutter, as me and Railkin have been saying so far here, that so that's like the little thing where you like jump and Yoshi's all like like that. And a perfect flutter is actually when you gain 1 pixel of height, which is a 3-frame window, and the game is 60 FPS. To me, it's easy to do because there's like a very distinct cue in the pitch of Yoshi's little noise that I'm just used to hearing at this point. So it's not hard. It's more about the nerves, actually. it's just the nerves of like how confident do you feel you're gonna be able to nail that whenever it's life or death if you don't get this flutter. Which so that's kind of what we're talking about there. Like you have to like be able to do that and not lose height. You have to hold the B button when jumping and then repress the B button after a certain point very quickly.
Yeah.
Easier said than done.
It's like you're releasing it like earlier than the flutter would normally end, and then repressing it. And the timing, there's actually some good wiki articles on like the timing for it if you want to try and look it up yourself. But there's like 3 different references that people use, and it's just whatever works for you. And it's after a while, it's just the timing that people get used to as well.
Yep,
that's super interesting. When you're in, so GDQ, you can obviously see just by the videos we've been watching, there's quite a crowd in there now. I mean, I assume, I don't know what exactly it is, but it's got to be over 100 people. But so when you're looking or listening for some of those audio cues as a performer, is it something where can you do it? Are you ever, did you like, how does that work when you're like in a live setting like that?
Okay, so since you asked a really good question, I didn't want to bring it up because I want to come off like I'm being passive aggressive here.
No.
But there were audio issues big time. I was the opening run for Summer Games Done Quick 2015.
Yeah.
And we had what we did an audio check and I was good. And then when the run started, I wasn't good. I'm like, I don't know what they changed, but like the audio was like lagging really bad and it threw me off really hard. And I ended up dying in 1-1. And I did like I think I didn't want to like name blame and be like, well, sorry y'all, tech screwed up here, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, we're having some minor issues right now. Okay, if we can just get the audio to sync properly, please.
Yeah.
I remember saying that, and I was kind of like, I really wanted to reset because I was like, dude,
Yeah,
my 1-1 is so banger. And I got robbed of it so hard from that audio issue because I couldn't. Again, it started once the run started. I don't know what they changed or whatever here.
Yeah.
But because I knew the schedule was important, I wanted to be a team player. I didn't make a fuss. I let everyone. I held the L. Everyone thought that I was playing bad or whatever, and I'm like, no, whatever. And then we moved on.
Yeah.
I was being quite the team player there because my 1-1. Ooh, here we go. Boom, 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 boom,
juggle.
boom,
Oh, this is
boom,
so
boom.
juggle.
Oh, I'm so greedy. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude! Why did I was so greedy there. Oh man, why did I go for that?
But yeah,
that
like I
was so
mentioned
rad.
earlier, this was one of the first years we had some different tech setup. And yeah, that just happens sometimes early in the marathon. Like we're not holding it against Trihex for mentioning it or anything like that. I know people always try to make drama out of this for some reason. So it's like, yeah, like it's appreciated that you didn't make a big deal, but of course we can talk about it after the fact that it was kind of scuffed.
I can just speak a little bit.
What's the scuff? I mean, it was also, I believe, the first year. No. Let me defend that because I've never publicly said all that. That's just more like this is what happened, and it made me look like I was a bad runner when in reality it was audio issues that were dynamic to the situation. I believe this was our first year that we had power up audio.
I don't remember if it was Power Up or the team that we had before Power Up. Because what happened was there was a year where Twitch helped us get an audio team to run the mixer because we were starting to upgrade our setup. They were like, you should get people who know how to run the mixer. And one of these years, Twitch helped us with an audio team, and the next year, Power Up was there. And for both of those, there was kind of like the first day and a half or so where they got used to our setup and our equipment. There were just some difficulties. It's normal even for somebody who knows these mixers to walk in and be like, okay, even how do you even have this set up? And it takes them a little bit to figure out, like, find their footing a little bit. And of course, first run with new people, new setup, people we've never worked with before. Like, yeah, it just happens,
I can actually relate to this on both sides of things because first of all, at the last live in-person GDQ, I was running sound for a couple shifts running sound on the board. But then I had a run at GDQX that I can't remember which year it was. And it was the first time we were switching over from CRTs to trying out some of the flat screens with the OSSCs and all that kind of stuff. And the screen just completely shut off during my run. And it's like, folks, it's a live event. It's like it's part of the thing. And so I just kept playing because I've done 1,000 different runs of this game, so I knew exactly where I was. I knew where I was going. So but you keep going with it because what are you gonna do? It's live, and you're there. That's when you remember you're there to raise some money for a good cause.
Yeah, it always sucks when it happens, especially as somebody who works backstage. You wish it wouldn't.
It's like you
try to move past it, and you always feel a little bit bad when it kind of affects somebody's run.
It happens. So
it happens. By the way, the previous room was super sick. I went for a absolutely insane enemy eat, but I ate an enemy between two uneatable enemies while a blue bill was coming at me, while there was a spike wall behind me. Like I did like the most YOLO of stuff there, like super greedy. Oh God, I'm so awesome. I'm kidding. All right, so
just throw it out the swag.
And right there, that right there was a perfect flutter. You have to go to that pink platform in order to reach that door. But if you do a perfect flutter 3-frame window, you'll gain 1 pixel of height, which will zip you up to it'll clip you up to the ledge rather than take you down.
Yeah, and that exists everywhere in this game because of what was pretty common game design at the time of putting things just barely out of reach. So you could see where you need to go, but you can't quite get there. And it turns out with perfect flutters, you can make a lot of those jumps. Even just like not stuff like that where you're just skipping a platform, like skipping entire portions of levels at times. You don't see as much of it in 100% because you still need to get all the flowers and red coins, but you watch some of the 80% stuff and there's some pretty good perfect flutters just to jump and skip a good portion of a level.
Yep. Oh, what was I going to say about that? Oh, we'll continue. So,
if you remember, please jump in. I wanted to reference back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier, and that some of the comments and on the YouTube VOD and all this kind of stuff mention some of this chemistry you had with Golden, who's doing some of the donation readings and things like that. First of all, do you remember any part of that? How some of that chemistry that was happening? Because I do think like it's a really fun run to watch, folks. And we're not watching the whole thing here, but you really should. But do you remember any sort of the back and forth, or any sort of the the donations or the commentary that Golden brought as part of the donation readings?
Okay. So Golden's my boy, hardcore. Golden also knows the run. So Golden knew like when there was downtime and when to like pump and dump on the donations, and when there was like a really important visual point that I would need like time to explain to both build up and execute. So he was very patient with me on letting me like shine where I need to shine, but also I let him unload during auto scroller. So I think we had a good dynamic with that. Historically, Golden as well as Spike Vegeta were the two that I would always like request if they were free to commentate my runs in the past. Yeah. And also Golden was aware of the shirt shenanigans. I would keep hyping up the shirt, and I would ask him to like tell me, does the chat like my shirt? And they tell me they were flooding in $5. Yeah, shirt's awesome. Yeah, $5. Yeah, Trunk's my favorite character. Blah da 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 da. And then like I don't remember when it happens here. I think I do it after the 5-4 skip. Whenever I take off my shirt finally. I can spoil it here if you want to know like what was I wearing beneath the Dragon Ball Z polyester button down.
Double.
Should we speed ahead? Do we do it, folks? Yeah, I think we're gonna speed ahead. Why not? Let's see. 5-4. You said how far is that in the run? Is that about?
That would probably be from this point here somewhere between 35 to 40 minutes.
Okay, so let's try about here.
Did you go for 5-4 skip in this run?
There it is. A little too far. So let's see if we can get the actual. Sorry.
Yeah, this is about 5. Okay, this is the middle of it. Okay, this is a great point to be, I would say.
Oh my God, yeah.
So okay, so what am I wearing here? What I'm wearing is it's a slice of pizza with the eyeball from the the $100 bill or the dollar bill. It's the Illuminati eye, right? And get this right. This was at a time when the Illuminati global Twitch emote had just dropped like maybe 3 weeks prior. So I danked it up and I got a shirt that wasn't directly the emote, but people knew what to spam. It was like I was emote farming in chat. So the minute I wore the shirt, I knew everyone was gonna spam the Illuminati in chat. And they did. I heard that chat like got busted and like into like smithereens whenever they saw this finally. Like isn't that genius? Like I had the ultimate emote farming shirt, so chat was like rip. Like tryhards and the Illuminati everywhere. Like
Chat is currently
So-
spamming the Illuminati in the GDC chat. Trihex. This is your fault.
Yes, please. Well, so I'm glad you brought that up though, because so when Duengo AC, the taskbot guy, was on the stream, he was mentioning how it was real easy, not easy, but quite often GDQs broke Twitch chat, and I have a feeling this might have been one of those times where he just spamming it up to.
Oh yeah, because I milked this hard. I told I don't remember exactly what I told Golden. I was like, hey, look, if they want me to take off, if all these haters hate Dragon Ball Z and they want the shirt off here, tell them, I don't know, $10,000. I forgot whatever the number was here. Like, I don't know, make up a number, Golden, make it happen. And then it finally got met. And I remember it being a pretty lofty goal, but when it got met, everyone was like so excited to know, like, okay, what is he? He's hyping up the shirt here. What could it possibly be? And I was so proud because it matched the hype. I didn't overhype it. Like, people were like, oh my God, that's such a dang shirt. I love it. So I was pretty happy with that. I was pretty proud of that one.
So at some point, I guess, and I don't mean to just turn the corner on it like this, though, but I mean, at some point, you take a break from Yoshi's Island. I guess, at this point, you've been grinding the game for 10 years, I guess. Is it ever starting does it ever start to weigh on you or anything like that? Like, are you ever ready for a break at this point?
Yeah, no, actually, you know what's real about that? The problem was I was trapped. Yoshi Island was so good that I would compare every other game to it. I'd play Mega Man and be like, okay, you know what? Mega Man speedruns look pretty lit here. I'd fire it up. Also, okay, we're way behind here. This is if you I don't know how long we have here, but we're probably about like 15 minutes away from 5-4 skip.
No
So I don't know
problem.
if you want to, if you want to see 5-4, we're currently on 5-2 right now.
No problem. We can absolutely do that. Let's go about here.
So I'll be like, yeah, Mega Man X1 and X2 look lit. I would love to get those. I gave him a shot. I'm like, man, this is just Yoshi Island without eggs. This is, it's not whack. It's just like, I'm just like, Yoshi's too good. There's this, I don't know what to call this phenomenon here, but it's a very similar problem that I know quite a few of my friends who speedrun Donkey Kong Country go through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They love the donkey, and because they don't have those roll cancels in the game they want to run, they're like, it's just it's Donkey Kong minus the roll cancels, dude. I miss it, and they go back to it anyway. They've ran the crap out of DKC2, and they just can't put it down. It's too good.
This is
I guess get ahead a little bit too far. Let me
Yeah.
back it just a little.
it's pretty common with games that have pretty heavy movement tech, especially like movement tech that just feels good, like Donkey, like you said.
Yeah, we're still ahead here. You want to go a little further back?
Thanks
This
for
is the
letting me know.
boss fight.
Apologies
The
for-
5-4 steps right before this. There you go. This is great. So now we're in 5-4, and you'll know, be very obvious here when we're coming to this like very obnoxious long auto scroller section that we just we for the most part break here.
Yeah. In the 2010 run, there would be no consideration of doing this. People were messing around with the possibility of doing this in 2014, but like not seriously being attempted in most runs. And this was still considered extremely hard. This is still extremely hard. The 5-4 skip. But like at this point, it was absolutely wild that Trihex did this in a marathon.
Through it a little bit, Triax. What is, you mentioned a lot of these things already, but specifically with the 5-4 skip, what's making it so challenging? What's exactly happening?
You'll see right here, we're actually starting it now here. So I admit here, I go for the half skip version here because I wanted to be marathon safe, because it was very, very risky, and I just I felt like I didn't have enough commentary muscle to really go for commentary and the full skip. And I thought it was more important to go for a consistent first try thing than to try to go for a really hard skip that I couldn't speak at all during.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so now we're on it now here. So at this point here, I'm above nothing. Below me is all death. I have to, literally using my 2 eggs right here, make additional eggs, shoot enemies, do a thing called a red coin duplication glitch, use these 4 bats here, that's very vital. Use these 4 bats to be able to manipulate them to do everything. Remember, right now that platform with the enemy that we use is like way to the left there. So we're gonna do this this red coin duplication here. Duplicate it. And I'm holding that Shy Guy in my mouth right now. These bats are spawning facing left. I have to shoot that flower, recatch the Shy Guy, because I'm gonna automatically swallow it if I don't ejected after about 20 seconds. Fall back down. The bat's now spawning facing right. Kill one, and let these 2 bats here hover on screen. Notice how they're 2 on screen right now. Don't lose too much height. Use the 3rd bat of the 4. Spit the Shy Guy upward here. Enemy boost above the crevice here. Get those final 2 red coins above the spikes. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. And swag. Bam. Pow. And that was a half skip on first try. That was insane. That was the nerves I had at that point were like, I mean, adrenaline's like at 5,000% right here. Like I was like, holy crap, I actually did it.
So just hearing you talk through about it, it almost sounds unreal. How the hell is something like that discovered? Because there's just so much going on between duplication glitches and the right amount of it. What did the community done to actually discover how that thing happened?
It was amazing, bro. It's a runner's high, like times 500, because it was like at first, okay, so what happened was at first there was like useless ideas that were memes. And then it was like, okay, wait. If we lab it up further here, there might be an application here. Oh my, dude, that fight was gross. Oh my God, I was so good at that fight at that time. Holy crap.
So that's...
Okay, so...
Oh, you want to do it?
You explain real quick.
Okay, so that fight, it's normally you have to throw eggs, and the goo body kind of like indents when you hit it with an egg. And you got to indent it to make the heart, vulnerable. But you'll see in some of the previous runs we watched, throwing eggs at enemies off screen is a thing because certain things will be loaded off screen and other things won't. And in this instance for this boss, the heart is loaded off screen, but the goo squishy body is not. So you line up at just the right distance, you bounce an egg, you hit the heart, one egg throw per heart hit instead of having to do all the extra throws. And it just looks real nice when you get it.
Oh yeah. So what was the question again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
We're trying to get back to how the 5-4 skip was discovered, because there's so many different types of things going into making one skip happen.
Yeah, so in 2012, bonus skips were discovered, making 100% runs viable. Then at some point in, I think, late 2013, red coin duplications were found. In that a certain enemy type, a red flying shy guy holding a red coin, if you were to grab the enemy but not grab the coin falls. Game will respawn the shy guy tethered with another red coin, effectively. So what happens there is and if you do it fast enough, you actually can do this twice before the first one despawns. So you can actually acquire 3 red coins total, where it's only intended to be 1 red coin, which meant that if there were rooms that had only red coins in them, you can theoretically duplicate and skip them if the level contained more conveniently placed red coin shy guys elsewhere. So 5-4 is just a level of coincidentally brilliant level design in this context, because it allowed us to skip this one really annoying room. And then the combination of that with the 5-4 skip, which was initially an any percent only strat. Let me also contextualize here that in 2014, 5-4 skip was any percent only. You just have to make the flutters and that's it. The idea of even going for that in a hundo run was like, madman, you're insane. No way.
Hour 45 into the run at that point, so it's like,
yeah. For a 70-second time save, like the risk to reward here is insane.
Right.
But I am insane after all. So we were labbing it up and we made it happen. It took me quite a while to get good at it, though. I admit I wasn't the first runner to get it. It took me quite a long time because everything here has to everything here has to go like really, really well. Like so the whole thing is if you lose too much height, you have to use more bats. And you only have 4 bats here. The once you kill them, they don't come back. So you have to make sure that when you use them at the right times and everything. So it took, I would say it took probably legit a full month of specifically grinding 5-4 skip for me to actually make it viable for speedrunning. Like I had to be so consistent at it that I had to kind of be able to get in my sleep. Like get it 10 times in a row.
And
you know what I mean?
Like Trihex said, he wasn't the first to get it, but the idea of doing that in a marathon was wild. Because people have done it at this point, but it's a thing that most people would not try in a marathon, even the half skip, just out of your mind for trying that in a marathon at this point. But it's Trihex. He wants to get. But
it's also what justified it being in the run, because it is true. Like I was very privileged in that we had Yoshi Allen, kind of once a year at a GDQ, and the reason why it was worthy again is because now we have the 5-4 skip. Let's go. So that think this was a great showing of that actually. So
So I think it's pretty obvious at this point that, you know, I'm learning a lot of the history of this game, and I'm really glad you're sharing a lot of it. Starting from, especially from one rudder to this. That's really cool too.
I love
by
the
way.
orbiting chickens. Sorry.
So funny. Even to this day, looking at the leaderboard, there are still only 50 something submissions of the 100% category. And I'm just curious, you know, you've kind of touched upon a lot of this stuff, but what are the things that are, you know, perhaps keep, you know, more, like we have over a couple hundred on the any percent. So is it just the brutality of having to run all of these tricks for almost 3 hours?
the run is long. The run is what's the word here? Like when like there's no small mistake in Yoshi's Island. Like in 100%. Everything's like a cumulative or exponential, I suppose here. Because like the important thing here is that in Yoshi's Island, unlike other Yoshi games, sadly, you keep your eggs between levels. So like egg optimization, egg hoarding are all relevant. You don't just like lose all your eggs into the level. You start the next level with those eggs as well. So the egg routing is like continuously fluid and continuity based. So like, and there are some points in like World 3 where like you like exiting 3-2 with 6 eggs matters all the way to like 3-5 because you are so scarce on eggs in certain sections and rooms that make the speedrun strats very viable because you're just like deprived of eggs otherwise. So you know, the point being is that yeah, you have to memorize, you know, 20 red coin locations in every level. You have to like get strats. You just gotta have backup strats here because the thing about 100% that we haven't even covered here yet is that every level you must complete the level with full health. And you start at 10 stars and you can accumulate and max out at 30. 30 being your quote unquote full health. So you have to like get to 30 health out of starting at 10 without getting hit at the end. So if you get hit, you have to now recover somehow, and you need to figure out backup strats to get backup stars if you get hit. So like, yeah, the runs are very consequential when you mess up and fail. So they're very unforgiving, which is why not many runners would want to do hundo. Like if you were getting to Yoshi Island today, like you would hop on any percent, and I would tell you, you know, go for sub 2 hours, and you might not even touch hundo for like, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how active you are and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's not a rookie category at all,
The usual
and
path
it's very,
is,
very intimidating, I would say.
Yeah, usually the usual path is pick up any percent, do warpless, get your movement down. Because like you're not gonna do 100% before you've got a good handle of your movement, your egg throws, etc. It's gonna be so hard to do this category if you don't have a really good handle for the controls. So even like when people come in and they say, I want to learn 100%, the recommendation is usually start on any percent. Just because it actually makes your life easier for learning 100%.
I think you all are reading my mind, because that was actually going to be my next question, and that is, you know, one of the unique things and great things about GDQ is it's obvious, it's where people still find speedruns perhaps for the first time, or a game that they might even consider speedrunning. So Ray, you brought up a couple of good points. Trax, is there anything else that you might consider if you're a person who wanted to get into this game and wanted to try some of these things? Obviously starting at the any percent category, but any other things, like things to learn first as a first time runner?
Geez, it's really A gaming. You say the movement, Railcon. I actually would say it's the I would say it's the A gaming. That's probably the thing I hear the most often is the hard thing to get here, because like people expect it to be like some kind of like manually aimed reticle, but in actuality, it starts as it has three starting angles. You know, if you hold up versus no direction versus no direction plus the locked cursor button, and the reticle moves at a set speed, which is very different than I think people are used to now, like in the post Wii era, where you just like you aim the controller or you use like a gyro to like move the aimer or whatnot. You know, it's very different now where you people expect it to be here. So it's a little bit of getting used to, I would say, in that regard.
Yeah.
But I tell people to like, you know, feel comfortable aiming eggs. People like I found like new runners tended to want to like just like manually move Yoshi to everything they had to collect, and they would be very hesitant to ever try to like aim the eggs at anything.
Yeah,
Which is only going to hurt you in the long run, I would say.
I kind of qualify that down as movement just because of the way that this game is. And also getting used to hasty. For a long time, there was the debate of steady versus hasty in the early days of Yoshi's Island, which are the two ways you control throwing eggs. I remember at one point it was a split between Western and Japanese controls. Oh my god, the sponsor folder again.
It's never ending.
But I think at this point, pretty much everybody does hasty, right?
Oh yeah, hasty is like, I never liked patient. It's kind of hard to explain here, but like for those in chat, you would have to you can, so there's 3 buttons in the game that you use. There's like jump, tongue, and then fire egg or shoot egg, and the tongue being how you eat the enemies and then make eggs out of them. So the 2 methods were method 1, the default method, which is patient, where you would press the fire button, the A button, twice, once to stop the reticle from moving, and then the second time to actually fire the egg whenever you want to. And then hasties, whenever you just would press and hold A to start the reticle, it's going to be moving, and you just let go of A to fire whenever you let go of A button. Now, notably, it is about a second and a half slower to like go in the options setting on level select and change your setting to hasty. So there's technically a time loss there, but like, bro, hasty is where it's at. Like team hasty all day. Like for sure. Like you get good, learn the muscle memory, and you'll love it. It's like second nature.
Yeah.
Like Yoshi is like a fine-tuned hot rod, and you are the pilot. Get in there.
The reason why I say you're going to want to get used to it is that the vast majority of people in their casual play with patient. It's the default. It makes sense when you're not trying to go for speed. It gives you control over like how you're doing it. But yeah, hasty. Most speedruns are set up for it.
Here's a rare example of the game lagging, because I have like a bunch of crap on screen, 3 eggs going off here. I fired way too much crap at one time, and the game just freaked out and didn't know what to do.
That reminded me a little bit. You were talking about like egg routing between levels. Optimally, you actually want to carry as few eggs between levels as possible, because it like literal frames of lag when you have less eggs between levels.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, you're right. In the animation at the end of the level where the Yoshi tosses the eggs to the other Yoshi, you are right. That is actually faster to not have less eggs. But ultimately here in the net gain, if having the eggs enables faster strats, for sure. Typically. This is kind of funky right here, where you can I don't even get why this works, but if you position the choo-choo train to like, I don't even know how to even explain it, honestly. Just, that works for some reason if you do it that way.
Because yes, gaming.
It's one of those tricks that looks harder than it is, and I also don't remember the specifics on how it works.
Yeah, I'm cool though. The boring vehicle section got faster, so I'm all for it.
Right. Anytime to save time is a good time. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So I got a question for you. At some point, you take a break, and I guess my first question is, what kind of led you to finally take a break from the game? And then, have you ever considered picking it back up or anything like that?
Oh, great questions, actually. So what led me away? It's not even. It's people. The phrasing's always like, you quit Yoshi Island or you stop trying, and it's not that. It's more like you only. Do you play the same game every day? I mean, if you have like, if you have like 15,000 hours on Team Fortress 2 and like, I don't know, and then like, I don't know, CS:GO or like CS Source, is like the new hot thing you're into again. It's not that you don't care about Team Fortress 2. It's more that just, you're a person, you're a gamer, and you want to try different things out, new experiences. You don't want to get burnt out, if anything here. I was clearly very fatigued on only doing Yoshi's Island in one category for a very long time. And so and then Mario Maker dropped, and Mario Maker was amazing. Mario Maker gave me like a whole new streaming POV, because it was like, it wasn't just like new content every day with different levels. It was also my own community's levels they wanted me to play. So it gave streamers a unique like interactive engagement that had never been possible for me before, the whole like user generated content angle. So that had me like super in there, and I loved it. I loved it. So Mario Maker is the exact thing that happened there, though I didn't plan that though, actually. Right. Initially I was actually very hyped for Yoshi's Woolly World, which actually came out a month after Mario Maker. Mario Maker was September 2015, Woolly World was October 2015, and but Mario Maker like blew up, and I got really viral, and it was like it was super sick, and I gave Woolly World a shot, but sadly, like every other Yoshi game that comes around in one way or another here, like it's just rooted in so much compromise. Like, it seems to more be it seems modern days to me, maybe a hot take here, that Yoshi's more relegated now to being like a visual gimmick series
Mm.
as opposed to like one of like the core gameplay that Yoshi's Island's known for. Like, it's more like about okay, well now Yoshi's like a craft fabric animal
Right.
thing, whatever, or it's like what now it's going to be about background and foreground interactions and whatnot. Like it's very rarely been able to like just focus on evolving from the Yoshi's Island style of gameplay, which is what I found very very appealing.
That's super interesting that you mentioned that because the first Yoshi games I played were Woolly World and others of the modern era. And then as I got into speedrunning and I went back and tried out Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, I was like, oh my God, this game, it to me felt like 100 times better because that's the experience I was looking for. So it's,
Mhm.
and I don't think you're saying it like as a negative. It's just two different things that exist. And I tend to agree with you because the controls of Yoshi's Island are just, they're, I don't want to say they're perfect, but they really, to me, it feels like just really good in the fingers when you're playing through this game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of small things in the modern Yoshis that just like you can just feel they don't feel as fulfilling. It feels very
Right.
toned down for a casual audience.
Hmm.
Yoshi moves slower. And some of the Yoshi games, Yoshi can't even move while aiming the egg. Yoshi will stop in place to aim
Yeah.
the egg because it's meant to like be more casual
Hmm.
accessible,
Totally.
right? So it's like just your options are just like really reduced. You don't carry eggs between levels, so there's no egg routing whatsoever. Very often, you're usually egg deprived. It's very linear and like if I start every level with 0 eggs, then there's either horde eggs for a certain point to shoot everything, or there's like
Right.
tactically use eggs in certain areas because they're the most annoying things to reach physically. The whole thing is like you have no options and you have no ability to like mitigate around the developer intended stuff here. So you're just stuck in like gimped Yoshi mode, which
Yeah,
might be fine for some who don't play Yoshi's Island, but I've never had to. You never feel like you're gimped when you're playing Yoshi's Island. Everything's like high skill ceiling. The powers at your imagination of the route and whatnot.
yeah, and it's like what I
So,
mentioned earlier with like there's a lot of stuff that's barely out of reach in this game, and Perfect Flutters lets you do a lot of unintended stuff. Um, so just even the absence of a lot of those little skips.
but yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm anti modern games. I mean, for example, I love Celeste. I love Mario Odyssey. I even at some point in the past, where I said that I would probably put Celeste as my game of the decade for 2010s because it was just like it meant that much to me. So yeah, I'm very much like I like all games. I'm not a particularly like retro, I guess like a fetishist or whatever. But just I wish that the Yoshi games were given the same love that like Mario Odyssey was given because clearly that game was like given a lot of emphasis on like player options and whatnot.
Yeah,
You know, so.
Totally. I
Oh,
kind of no, no,
but you're right. I'm sorry.
no, go.
Actually, I'm sorry. I didn't get to your question. Your question was,
Yeah.
would I come back though? Right? Would I
Yeah.
come
Would you
back?
consider ever speedrunning the game again?
Yes,
Okay.
actually. I've had a very pleasant break, quote unquote break, and no, I've actually, I've been yearning to get back on Yoshi, but at the same time, um, what I want to do is like, I'm focusing on my mental right now though. So right
Good.
now I'm
Good.
like, I'm pursuing fitness. I'm trying to get to like like an aesthetic of a fitness build, like a low body fat, high physique, etc. Here, I've been on my macros and discipline and all that here. Once I'm there, once I've achieved this really big goal I have for myself, my own personal potential, at that point, I feel like I'll have the mental discipline I need to finally return to speedrunning a game and like really put them all into it. I feel like I my own insecurities, my own mental boundaries, as far as accountability, practice, discipline, and everything else here, always got to me, and I never really gave any game the proper dedication it required. I would get too insecure or too like I would get too distraught over like losing records and like not being a high ranked player or whatever. But now I'm so much more emotionally mature than I was back then, and I think once I'm done with my current journey of the fitness, sometime next year I definitely want to get back on Yoshi Island
so
and in more than just one way. I want to get back on vanilla. I want to try out all these like phenomenal ROM hacks. I'm sure you all are very familiar with
Hmm.
how ROM hacks are kind of like what the SMW community has been like really on for the last
Unreal.
like 5+ years, like hardcore. So yeah, I miss it. I want it. I want back in.
I actually have a question about that, real quick,
Please.
Trihex. How much
Sure.
of it comes down to like the huge expectation of you playing this game? Like every
Mm.
time you've tried to come back to this game and something gets in the way, there's just been this huge hype.
Um, yeah, that's the scary thing is like whenever I get back in, I want to make sure that I'm back in and I'm able to like dedicate a lot of time to it because Yoshi Island is not a game that you can kind of do casually. I find like for me, speedrunning it's going to be like a legit like a 20 to 40 hour a week endeavor just to maintain my skill, maintain my craft, on rust and just and be on point. Not and be playing often enough that I'm not like stuck doing D rust runs every other week or whatever, you know. So whenever I get back in, I'm back in for real, rather than just like a random month of me just like hopping back in for the nostalgia and whatnot. But yeah, there definitely is some there is some mental where I'm asking myself here, am I committed? Am I ready to play Yoshi's
Right.
Island enough to like to not deter from any random new game release that I care about or whatever? You got to be in. It's a hard game. Like Yoshi Island's a very very hard game. I might make it look easy, possibly, or complicated or whatever here, but like it is like that. When if I don't play for like 3 weeks, it's like, whew, man, my fingers are just like busted a little bit there. I would say.
I'm really thank you first of all for being so honest about that because I think it's an important thing to point out for everyone out there is there's the physical aspect of being able to do this with your buttons and the brain signals all the way and all that kind of to your fingers, but then there is also everything else that goes along with that, the kind of toll it takes on your mental ability and physical
Recover.
ability. What is
Recover.
going?
Wait. Okay. If a winged Koopa, where are they at? Where's the winged Koopas? Wait. Okay, we can.
Oh,
Oh, nothing. No. Okay. I think I killed them all here, sadly. But yeah, like I could have recovered there if I could have made any winged Koopa respond. I could have like shot an egg up beneath me and caught it and bounced back and lived. It probably wouldn't have saved any time and just like dying quickly, but it would have looked really cool. But
strat. It's
also
swag.
keep in mind here that the fuzzies here is what they're called. They are randomly generated. So but I also could have went a little bit slower to accommodate for whenever they pop up randomly.
Yeah. Also,
The
the big issue with the fuzzies is they break the physics engine a little bit. The waving platforms, sometimes you'll just fall through them, just because that effect is not programmed the best. So like on some of those thin platforms when they're doing the fuzzy animation, you can't actually just fall right through them.
That is true.
I think kind of the obvious question to kind of wrap this whole thing up with, and we talked about it just briefly before, as you have been around so many of the different GDQ events and the speedrunning community since basically it became a thing around SDA and where we are now. Did you ever like this? I mean, I guess you couldn't have really. I mean, did you ever foresee any of this? And what is kind of your thoughts on where we've grown to and how many people are interested in being a part of it nowadays?
Have I ever foreseen GDQ being as big as it is, or
Or
speedrunning?
speedrunning in general. Like, did you ever think? Because we know about your thoughts about like Yoshi's Island and think is starting from one to where with over 200 runs now in the 90%. What about speedrunning in how? I mean, there are we literally have thousands of people submitting runs on speedrun.com nowadays. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Actually, the thing is, like, I'm so like rooted and like I guess intrinsic with Yoshi's Island that it was kind of hard to really grasp how that community has grown to what it is now, and like seeing the runners and the category growth and the new strats and all that. What I really didn't get an idea of how far speed running had come until I was a moderator for the Mario Odyssey community, and just seeing that community blow up to being like I believe the second largest community by active runners by like March 2018, which was insane. Just seeing so many new runners and just everyone hopping in and all this other stuff here. It was phenomenal. The community is fostering, the motivation is pure. It's a very collaborative, heavy thing. Like everybody wants to just like find new strats and have like and engineer new ways to like enjoy the game and make it faster. So yeah, it's just like I don't know. I don't even know where to even begin with that one. I've always loved speedrunning, and I always love pushing myself on my not even okay. So for some people, they thrive on competition. Like it's like okay, if the game has no active runners, nothing motivates me to go further. Right? I have world record. I got my dub. I'm in. But for me, I thrive more on the personal potential. Like I know if there are tricks I'm not going for, I want them. I want to get there. I want to make again. I want to make the God run. And sometimes that holds me back in a lot of games where I want to pursue like really hard or really I guess swaggy maneuvers that are outside of my skill zone or whatever at that time. But that's just Yoshi Island built me into the speedrunner that I am now. So I'm very much a Yoshi speedrunner playing other games. If I'm being real here, that
Yeah.
hasn't really changed. So yeah, speedrunning is super sick. The GDQs, I've listen, I've always been super about the GDQs, and I can explain why there as well. There was a so this is a minor story dump here for you, but
Do it. Go
so
for
I
it.
went to Evo 2013, right? The first Evo that had Smash Bros. Melee there, because I was part of the charity fundraiser that helped get help get the Melee community to raise 100 grand for breast cancer. Um, breast cancer research, prevention, awareness, a good cause, right?
Yeah.
And when I was there, one of my good friends, y'all might know him, like multi-time Evo champion, Justin Wong. You know, he was there. He knew of me from the GDQs actually, and I was like, "Whoa, Jay Wong knows me. That's sick." You know, Justin Wong. You know, Justin Wong, the Street Fighter legend. Justin Wong, the Marvel legend. Justin Wong. Justin Wong. And he really opened my eyes on the value of like what something like GDQ can do for people as well as for like yourself. Because he was like, "Listen, bro, the winner of Evo, they'll win Evo, right? And they get like maybe like one Polygon article or one Kotaku article about their victory. But they don't ever get any time to ever like explain themselves or like what's their story, you know. If you're like some player from like, Dominican Republican or wherever, right? You're from Chile or whatever, right? It's like your journey coming to USA and grinding through all these USA players through pools and being the top player. That's amazing. But your story is only told in like a written interview and one time. That's it. Your peak performance is all your gameplay, and there's minimal human element to it other than the reactions to whether you won or lost. Comparatively, he said he loved how at GDQ it's like you the player get a stage to like sell yourself and sell your story and sell your passion, in some cases for hours at a time because you're the one doing the run. You know, if you're that Kingdom Hearts speedrunner, you're able to kind of like make everyone feel about the game and about your dedication to that game as passionate as you are for it, and totally normalize that for hours at a time. And I never thought about that until he said that. But when he said that though, that's what really got me like, dang, dude, you're right. Commentary for runs is really important. And that's when in 2015, this run right here, I focused on that really hard. I was like, no. Commentary is king. That is king. Don't just be a good runner. Be beyond that. Be the storyteller. Be the emotional catalyst. Be the great runner. Be all those things. And that's what I focused on doing there. And yeah, I definitely would never take that for granted. Because initially I was getting a little jaded here. I was like, no. What matters is like I gotta get like a really sick time. I gotta go for hard or stress and all that. And it's like, no. Yeah, this is important too. But who cares about how good your tricks are if no one understands what you're doing and why? You have to contextualize that. You got to be the storyteller. So that's what changed. Talking to Justin Wong back in 2013 is what really inspired me to really, or one of the many things that inspired me to like push myself on that, and also why I love GDQ and opportunities like this actually. So hopefully that's
I'm
kind of a
chuckling a
long
little
answer,
bit.
but
No, it's perfect because you touched upon something that really is the reason this show exists. I never get tired of listening to people be passionate about whatever they're passionate about. In our case, it's speedrunning, and watching so many of these runs and just hearing people. I don't know half the things that are going on. I speedrun my 6 games, like it's but just hearing the infectious passion about all of these things is something that I'm never going to get tired of, and I appreciate. Like it's just so obvious how much you care about this game and how much others care about their games, because you could sit here and talk. I mean, this podcast could be 5 hours if we wanted to. I know we have endless things to cover. So I'm glad you bring that, man, and thank you so much for still caring about and doing something like this. I one thing I've always appreciated about you and is your honesty and not being afraid to talk about some of these things and just putting it out there. So thanks for being so honest about sharing all this stuff, but then also taking the time to actually do this after all these years of your GDQ history you have. So
Yeah, and if I could cut in real quick
Please.
about what
Please.
Trax was talking about earlier, how he thrives on like personal improvements. It's a good thing, like, because I thrive on something completely different, and it really drives home that point he was making, is that I love breaking into a new game and like pulling it apart, looking for tricks, routing it, that sort of thing. And that's actually like the most involved I got with Yoshi's Island was I knew a lot of people, I knew a lot about this game, and then null egg glitch was discovered, which is way too difficult for me to explain on this stream. And I was going to dive in and really like lab this out, because that's the type of stuff I have a lot of fun with in speedrunning. I got a cart. One of the runners who was done with the game and said he's done just sold me his 1.0 cart for like $15 or something. Absolutely refused to let me pay him more for it. And I was getting all ready to jump into it, like really pull this glitch apart, and then the tongue glitch was found. And it's just like a better version of the same glitch. And I was like, oh well, crap. But this is like that's the type of stuff I have really a ton of fun with in speedrunning, and I don't really grind stuff out as much as Trihex does, because I love finding the new stuff and breaking apart the tech. And there's people like me, and then there's other people who really thrive on the competition. Like if they don't have somebody to be one-upping, they don't get into it as much. So just find what you like to do in speedrunning. It doesn't have to be doing runs even.
And hearing what you brought up, Trihex, it's you bring up a good point too, that this game's still going to be here whenever you're ready to take it on again. There's still going to be a community there. There's still going to be whatever many people have submitted times on leaderboards and things like that. And so I think it's a really good point that when you're ready, that's when you return. It's like the game's not going anywhere. And I think that's one of the great things about speedrunning and gaming in general.
I have 2 points I wanted to elaborate on. One that you brought up and another that Railkin brought up. Railkin brings up a very great point here, which is kind of like this. There is this entitlement to like a linear steepness to difficulty in tricks and games. It's very important to know here that sometimes like an easier, more consistent version of the very trick that you put like 100 hours into grinding comes out of nowhere and just completely obsoletes it and becomes mass accessible. There is like some point of maybe like a speedrunner ego where you're just like, but I put in like 100 hours to learn the stupid like null tongue version, and then there's like this, or null egg, now there's like this tongue version that just like is like super easy, very consistent, no drama, and it's like, oh my god. Sometimes it'd be like that. I don't know, just like a useless glitch becomes the new trick that's like easy to do. I used to be really like entitled over like how like over how like I thought because X trick was harder, it had to be faster or whatever.
Right.
And then the other thing was oh geez, I forgot what was it you just said here. I'm sorry, I explained that. I forgot where I was going with.
No, I just make it how you can always return to the game. It's there again, and I don't know if that was part of the point you were looking for, but Ray, did you have something? Sorry.
I don't remember.
Man, I had it. I forgot it too now. Crap.
This is what
the game will always be there if you when you come back.
Whenever you're ready. When you're ready to return to the game, it'll still be there. That's the whole thing. And I there's always going to be new things. That's the thing. That's the one thing if we've learned about speedrunning is it's unfinished. I know we're thanks to there are some communities that are getting pretty darn close, but there always seems to be like there'll be a what's next type of thing. Still not jogging the memory here.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. I how did I lose it so bad? I had a point and
it just happens sometimes,
Yeah.
Too much Yoshi's Island, don't you?
brain farts, man. I don't know.
Well, on that note,
yeah, it's all good.
Honestly, thanks for taking so much time to chat about all these things. And if and when you return to the game, I can't wait to tune into those streams because
I remember now. I remember.
Go.
Okay. It was a mental thing. All right. So what I was gonna say here is like the thing about speedrunning though, there's all this emphasis on technical skill and memorization, and optimization, and discipline to practice correctly, and does not overindulge in doing these like runs with all these heavy resets and yada yada yada. Right? Like the conflict between being a competent, entertaining stream and being a proficient, productive practice session. Right? They're like literally diametrically opposed, like because one is like no webcam, no microphone, max grind, zero engagement with chat. The other is like literally commentating your stuff and being engaging with your chat and everything else here. And I would say that probably the hardest thing about speed running for me it's really about the mental, because you said that it's admirable of me to admit that like the mental is very important to me in speedrunning, as opposed to like just like the physical skill or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's because like nothing can prepare you for the pressure you feel.
Mm.
It's nothing whenever you're playing bad. But what happens when you're on PB pace?
Right.
What happens when you're on world record pace? You know what I mean? Like
run.
nothing can prepare you for when you're on God mode pace, unless you just like fail often enough while being on pace that you're numb to that pressure, literally familiar with it and numb to it. So it's like you have to like fail 50 runs that are on godlike pace to actually like, mathematically speaking here, have the complete composure and confidence in the familiarity of the stress to thrive under that pressure point, I would say. And that's something I didn't learn for a very, very long time. And now I understand that here. I don't feel entitled to a good time, to world record, to a PB, without patience. Speedrunners are the masters of patience. Until I do 50 bad runs, I don't fuss at all about entitlement to a good run. That's the point I want to end on right there.
Oh, that's such a good key takeaway too. I mean, because that honestly that summarizes quite a bit, especially for grinds at the highest levels of a speed run. I think that's such a smart and a good approach, and just it's the right way to do it, in my opinion. I mean, there's multiple ways, but that's such an important way of approaching things. And your speed runs are going to, whoever's speed running is going to be better because of it if you have that approach, in my opinion. Because you're learning to deal with the failure, as you point. Which, by the way, speed running most of the time you're going to be failing, so it goes with the territory.
Yeah, and learning how to deal with that pressure it's different for everyone. It's adding on to that is like if we're doing final thoughts on this.
Please.
I have a friend who used to do super serious no mic streams like Trihex was talking about. Whenever he was going to buckle down and grind for the record, and at one point I pointed out to him, all of his last like 10 PBs happened when he had his microphone on. So even though he was doing these super serious, concentrating sessions, it was always when he was more relaxed and talking to chat and not stressing himself out that's when he was getting the PBs. And some people, they hide their splits so that they don't see the pace they're on. And other people thrive on seeing their splits. So like, don't focus too much on how other people are doing it. Find what takes the pressure off you, because everybody's different. You really got to figure out how you succeed, how you're different from the other people, and go with that.
Can I megaphone louder for those in the back, please? Like, because you're not wrong. Find what works for you, and exactly everything you were saying. Definitely that. Actually, to allude to that, my best pace run in Yoshi's 100%, which was a 2-hour, 34-minute, 14-second time that I had in March 2015. My best time ever was actually a race. It was which was like a race. So it was a no reset race for Hundo, and it was like in a Discord call or like a Skype call with some friends. It was the most casual thing ever, and I was actually on like a godlike pace. But yeah, so you're onto something there about the whole like being relaxed and like which is what you want anyway. Like the whole like the pressure can just like get you super entitled and very, very salty very, very quickly.
I watched your PB for prep for this episode, and I was just like, is he on I think he's on. Yeah, this is a race. He's on a Discord. It's super casual. It's awesome.
I legitimately think that some of the world records that happen at GDQ are because they can't see the timer.
Big facts. Because there's no pressure now. Like the pressure's all on your commentary, or not even pressure, but like just like your attention is on the commentary and the camaraderie around your mates. Because you're having a good time. How often do you get to like be around your speedrun mates, and half of them are in Australia or overseas or 10 states away, and you're all together. Like it's a huge vibe. It's a huge like friendship bromance fest, if you will. Females, of course, too. There, it's all around here. But yeah, GDQ just flies by every time I'm there for the whole weekend. It's just like, it's super, super. It's not like the environment's not like super. What's the word here? Like stress pressure bomb. It's like, no, you want to put on for you're repping your community, you're repping yourself, you're excited. So yeah, it's love it.
This never fails too during this show is that now I'm watching all these things, and it's come up in the chat a couple times, but it does make me kind of long for the time where we actually get a chance to all hang out in person again, because we haven't been able to. But on that note,
Well, I do admire the decision though. I know
oh
it
yeah,
does
me too.
not come easy. But I'm right there with y'all.
Yeah,
I cannot
just
wait to. I mean, I'm making the bucket list now. I'm like, oh, I want to go to Japan, Super Nintendo World. I want to,
yeah.
I've been wanting to go to like Germany, etc. Here, I just want to do like now. I'm making the bucket list. I'm like, okay, life's too short. I gotta go do stuff. So
I'm gonna bear
I'm
hug
right
all
there
my
with y'all. The
friends.
minute we can get things
Yes,
popping
bear
again,
hugs.
I'm so excited.
I feel like I'm going to need to prep my body for that week because there's a good chance I won't sleep that week. So you just want to do everything because it'll be so crept in for so long. So
Yeah, definitely that.
I'm
But
an
hey,
old man now, I
we'll work
can't
out.
skip sleep.
Let's go to the gym. Let's
I know, let's do it. Next time,
let's
if
do
you're
it,
ever in
man.
the LA area, I'm I'm all about it. So.
Right on, man.
Cool, hey, dude. Thanks so much for taking this time, Railcon as well. I mean, I get a chance to see Ray at the next show, so it's pretty awesome. But first of all, let me try just a quick shout out if you'd like. This has been great. This has been wonderful, and I'm curious if people want to. I'm not curious. If people want to find your stream, if they want to say, besides being the face of Tryhard, where else can they find you online and stuff like that?
Yeah. So y'all, I stream at least 6 days a week on my Twitch, twitch.tv/Trihex. Y'all can follow me on my Twitter, twitter.com/Trihex. I these days so my primary focus these days again is on the fitness here. So I've been unapologetically transparent on what I've been doing here. So if you are curious of like my gains and what I do to work out, I'd be happy to talk to y'all about fitness, about what my macros are, about getting into diet, into nutrition. I do have a theory that like gamers want it, man. Gamers love logic, like clearly, like if you press the buttons, this happens. If you do this, you level up, fire is super effective against blah and water is super effective against this, like Pokemon or whatever, right? Like if someone can just explain clearly to you like how the fitness realm works, gamers would be all over that. So I've been kind of like pushing myself to like kind of be like a fitness ambassador to my community as I've been lowering my body fat. I was in the worst shape of my life in from the pandemic actually from July 2020. I was 220 pounds, 20% body fat. I am now down to 16.7% body fat, down to 190 pounds, and I'm still going. I'm going all the way to 12%. So follow or check me out if you want to like learn more about fitness things. That's my current focus right now. And then when I'm done with that, I promise y'all, I'm ready for Yoshi again. Right now, my goal is the fitness, and then next year we're back on Yoshi. I kid you not, no cap, no kappa.
I also want to give you a quick shout out because I also really appreciate that you take on quite a bit of topics that are current and relevant in life and stuff and things like that and what's going on in the climate of our country and other places around the world. And I just appreciate that. There's always honest, real talk going on in your stream, and I love it. I know it can be sometimes tough for some others, but I think it's great that you're not afraid to take on certain topics and subjects on your stream. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Uh,
Well, above everything, I want my community to be safe. So I feel like
It
there's
is.
just like there's
Absolutely.
too many things going on right now that are important and affect everyone, including my community, like tangibly on a daily basis. So I want them informed. I want my community. I want everyone safe. I don't want any harm. I don't want anyone to like feel pain or get or whatever or die. So I'm
Yeah,
just like, yeah,
totally.
this is bigger than games now. We got to talk about like safety and everything else here. So
Totally agree with that.
saw that? See it right there on
Perfect
the
timing,
screen?
yeah.
Yeah, got it.
At the
Got it.
tongue.
Literally, the world record's invalid if you don't get that. You have to go for that.
Railkun, where would you like to send people if they're at all interested in any of the stuff you're doing?
So I very rarely stream because I do production for Hotfix as my job. And
Seems
it
like
kind of
every
takes
single
the
day, by
shine
the way.
away from streaming as a hobby, when it's your job. I stream very rarely. You can follow me if you want. It's usually me doing something. Sometimes it'll be a speed run, practice for an upcoming event, or just like playing a game I like. But if you do follow, be aware I will go months at a time without streaming. My social media is where I yell about social justice. So, yeah, I mean, I'm around here in Hotfix. Check out Hotfix is what I would say, because that's what I'm
You
most
host a
involved
show
with.
on Hotfix,
Yeah, every
Oh, yeah, that's
Monday at
awesome.
7 p.m. Eastern, I have a show called the Community Spotlight where we just showcase different communities and their speedruns, and it's a lot of fun if you've never seen it.
And folks, thank you all out there for supporting and making this show happen. These shows all throughout the GDQ Hotfix, all week long, all of the content we see produced here only happens because you make it happen. You're watching, you're liking, you're sharing, the bits, all the subs and all that kind of stuff. All of that actually goes to make these things happen. These programs do not exist without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for making a show like this possible. So we're alien. Triax is just loving it, right?
Dude, did you see how sick that shot was?
It was-
Oh my
it
god,
was
actually had,
amazing.
Like perfect.
oh, dude, the 2 misses though. Okay, never mind. Okay, there's like a
Perfect.
there's like a god mode where it, like if you get the first 4 shots good, you can just literally do like a full jump, like a full jump frame one, but a cursor lock, and you can just shoot them way far away.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sick, dude. No, it gets right. It's sick,
Love the reset here.
and it's easier. It's actually easier than missing.
It's-
If you miss, it's actually harder now.
The boss gets so much more difficult when you miss 1 or 2 shots because then everything's off the rails. It's not predictable.
Correct.
You have to react to the distance, and some of them are hard to line up.
Yeah, they're quite ambiguous, I would say.
Super.
I'm sorry, I
fast.
mean, I'm sorry. I'm
No, no, please, no. That was great. I'm glad we actually got a chance. I didn't think we were going to get there, so I'm glad we got a chance. We got a chance to see at least you part of the fight. You know, that's pretty cool. So it was actually
Yeah.
quicker, or it makes more sense to reset there. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, you only reset there to skip the credits. You have to. The game has like a hard stop where you are prompted with the end and you have to reset. So
Got it. Well,
yeah,
then just
like
to finish wrapping this thing up, if you're at all interested in in this type of format and this podcast, we're on YouTube on the Games Done Quick YouTube channel. You can please check us out there. Also, I host my own podcast. It's called the Sequence Break Podcast. It's sequencebreakpodcast.com. Interviewed many of the people you even just heard about. Golden was the most recent guest who's going to that episode will go live very soon. So if you're at all interested in this kind of stuff, we just chat about this and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. At some point, if Triax is willing, maybe he'll come back on and we'll chat some Mario Maker because there are so many memorable, legendary moments from Mario Maker.
I'm sorry, I forgot. We didn't even get to Mario Maker.
It's totally fine. That's we because we weren't planning on it. After some of the schedules, folks, getting people all in the same place as you can imagine is a challenge. So at some point, we're gonna get all these folks together and we'll talk some Mario Maker because man, there are some memorable moments in Mario Maker from the GDQ stage.
Of course. Heck yeah, I love it.
Anyway.
Well, thank you.
Thanks again, Trax. I appreciate it, man. Okay,
All right.
everyone, have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here, and have a good night. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. Adios. Take care.
Later, y'all. All right.